How you doing, Jamie?
All right, ready? Okay, guys, we're gonna call this meeting to order. It's the December 6th meeting of the Downtown Development Authority for Romeo. Elizabeth, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Tar is absent. Humphreys?
Here.
Malzahn?
Here.
Brandt?
Here.
Rose?
Here.
Hayes?
Here.
Poznansky? Stevens?
Here.
And Parker.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, could everybody stand and do the pledge with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I don't think we have anybody here for public forum. Can I get an approval of the agenda, please?
The only question that I had, and I just caught this afternoon, so I apologize for not giving anybody the heads up, but Elizabeth, you and I talked about an executive session for land acquisition, and I didn't know if we still wanted to move that forward or if we just want to put it on for next month. It's just a thought. I know we have a packed agenda, and I'm not looking to make our meeting any more lengthy, so I don't know if we can add it, and then if we have time, we can move into closed session. If not, we can table it. It's your call.
Well, it's the board's call, really.
Does it have to be posted ahead of time to go into executive session?
No. It just has to be part of the agenda. We could add it under, you could move it to a item, you could move it to item 12 or 13, and then adjournment could be 14, and then at, towards the end, you could, I guess you could scratch, it's really up to the board.
I'd like to see it added if time allows. I think it's a topic that would be better off sooner.
So you'd make it 14?
Make it 13, and then 14 would be
Right,
adjournment,
yep.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Shouldn't it be 12? Board member comments always come before
They can
adjournment?
be wherever you want them to be.
So where do you want this?
Board comments would be 12, closed session would be 13, adjournment would be 14. Or you can switch 12 and 13 around, whichever you prefer.
I say just leave it 13, 14.
Yep.
Okay. So whose motion is it as amended then?
I will make that motion to add that agenda item for a closed session for the
Okay.
purposes of discussing land acquisition.
And whose second is that?
I'll second.
John, okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from November the 1st?
Okay.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then approval of the special meeting minutes from November 11th. Can we get a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Second was Hayes?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have a funding request, and it's in your packet here from the Romeo Lions Club.
Just gonna pass these out real quick.
They have them.
I think we have them.
I printed them for you.
Sweet. Saves me time. I appreciate it. Hi, guys. Thanks for hearing me out. My name's Jamie Lucero. I am the president of the Romeo Lions Club. And I'm coming to you guys tonight requesting funds for our December 12th Pack the Bus event. Romeo Community Schools is on board. They're bringing down a bus downtown. And we're going to try to pack it with as much food, non-perishables, as we can, as well as donations. So that's really what we're asking you guys for, is if you guys would chip in as well. We're only asking for $500. I don't know if it needs to be earmarked, what you guys, if you guys need it to be earmarked for anything, or if it could just be a straight donation. But really, that's what I'm here for, is just to see if you guys would throw in a little bit and help out a great community
typically, the amount requested is earmarked for a specific, so what exactly would the $500 be going towards?
Well, if it needs to be earmarked, then we can use that for, we can use that to offset our, some of the marketing costs and everything else, and then we'll just offset the $500 from our side as a donation.
Okay, and then one of the other requirements is if we're funding it, we have to be acknowledged on your flyer with our logo.
It's in the, what you filled out.
It's under request
I
policy.
did not see that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's one of the biggies that we,
All right, so,
Lucy prints next.
we have a bunch of flyers already printed up.
Well, you might have to go, I don't think you'd have to go and re-put up.
Could I do all the, online flyers? Would that suffice?
well, the only reason I noticed it because it was delivered in the Goodfellows paper.
Yes.
And it's already out there as your event,
Yes.
so.
Jamie, how much have you guys gathered so far as food and other items that you're going to be using to pack the bus?
So the club has been doing a food drive within the club for the last couple months, and we decided we were just gonna flip that into a pack the bus when we decided we were gonna do this event. As far as donations for them, I think we're sitting around a similar amount of what we're asking from you guys. And we expect to get more day of. I know there's a couple other clubs within our district with the Lions Club that are looking to donate as well. They're gonna be bringing out manpower as well to help with donations, but also unloading when the whole event's over. So, as far as the true number, what we have on hand, it's around $500. I can't tell you what we're expecting. We're hoping to have as much as we can have, right? That's the hopes.
I think part of my thought process was, because the event is so close,
Yeah.
a lot of the promotion has already been done. If it's something where you guys are looking to purchase food or other items to pack the bus with,
Right.
that might be an opportunity for us to fund something in regards to that. But to have something that's substituting other funds that have already been spent, it would be.
I mean, we can do that as well. We have a number of members who have donated and have said that they would rather their money go towards actual food items rather than just be cash dropped off to Samaritan House. And Samaritan House has identified a number of items that they would rather have rather than cash because that saves them the time from having to go out and shop. And that would be great as well. So, I mean, we could also do that and say, we'll go out and if you guys would grant the request, then we'll use that and go shop to hopefully pack the bus even more.
Is your goal to make this an annual thing?
Yes.
Okay.
We've also talked about partnering with the school district again in the somewhere in the midsummer as well to do something similar like this for school supplies. So this is kind of the pilot, right, to see how well this goes and what we can build upon for any future events, similar future events.
Jamie, you have, 10 to 2 on the 12th, downtown Romeo. What location? Where will this bus be?
The bus is going to be on Main in front of Youngers and the office.
Right on Main Street?
Yes.
I do not know the answer to this question, and I don't have the bylaws in front of me. Are there any restrictions for the use of these public funds for charitable causes? I do not know the answer to that. I'm just making sure.
Well, I know we can't give donations, we can't give to like a grant or some sort of thing. It had, like you said, giving a receipt for like actual materials so that you could send us a receipt is one thing.
But
The
if
only
we went to,
the disappointment for me is that you had the advertising already done without
Well,
the logo. put on.
Not that you did that
I mean.
purposely.
I know you didn't do it on purpose,
Yeah,
but that's
it's
part of
just the
our,
way everything-
that's part of our requirement when we do fund projects.
Well, if you, would you like me to read your funding request policy? Okay, so at the top of it says, the purpose of the Romeo Downtown Development Authority is to create and prevent deterioration of the Romeo Business District, to encourage historic preservation, to authorize the creation and implementation of development plans in the district, and promote economic growth. And I'll abbreviate. The Romeo DDA may consider requests for funding events or programs within the DDA district that promote, enhance, and otherwise benefit the downtown DDA district and help the DDA achieve the stated purpose above. So that's what you guys have in your current policy.
Certainly, this would promote and enhance the downtown area. It would bring people there. We've granted other requests for other organizations while it's late. It would certainly, given the time of year, just bring more people down and might be doing some Christmas shopping.
But there wasn't a specific funding request here. First it was advertising, now we're trying to work it backwards into,
Well, he probably meant to say, help buy the foodstuffs which they need for it.
are you coaching him?
Me? Jamie, didn't you mean to say that you?
Absolutely.
And anything going forward, advertising we could get put on.
Yeah, if this becomes an annual thing, we have no problem adding on, because this truly is about the community. This is just something the Romeo Lions Club is doing, but it's not like we're doing it to put the Romeo Lions Club out there. We're doing this with the specific purpose of helping a community organization that we believe plays a vital role, especially this last year and a half, when these families have been, how much they benefit our community, how much they help with, financial assistance for those who are impoverished in our community. Now, it's not just about food, they also help with legal. They've expanded their services so much, and the Lions Club, we just want to help them because they are vital to this community.
Megan, do we need a receipt for the show that we're gonna pay the $500 if we granted it? Or do we send the money to them and then ask for a receipt from them?
That's usually how we do it, and I think you would.
I'm sorry, that's, which way?
Give them the money, they give us a receipt for what they used it
And
for.
you can get us a receipt?
Absolutely, yeah.
Or can we just go into
We can,
PNC
like, go
Bank or
into
Tri
Sam's
County
Club.
Bank and get $25 Visa gift cards, right? Can we get $500 worth of gift cards and donate them?
I mean, I'm sure that would suffice as well. I don't know
I just-
how they hand them out.
Yeah, that might just be a little, I
I'm
feel
not
like then
comfortable
we're
with that,
directly
Chris.
giving money in one way, shape, or form to another
Then everyone's gonna ask for
charitable
different.
organization. I think if we can, I'll make a motion to approve the funding request, but in the amount of $250 to, with the understanding that those funds are gonna be used to purchase items to help pack the bus that's being set up in downtown Romeo.
I'd second it if it was 500, but
Well, there's a motion for 250 on the floor at the moment.
Right. So somebody needs to second that and take a vote.
I'll second Zach's motion.
$500 for food
Jamie,
supply.
250
is what I
Oh,
made.
250.
The Lions Club is not benefiting, you're not raising
No.
any funds from this, it is
We're not
purely,
benefiting at all. So any funds that even come to us for this, we are just acting as a pass-through. Everything for this event goes directly to Samaritan House.
Yeah, my thought process on the motion is we put it out there for that, and if we're, next year, Jamie or somebody from the Lions Club comes to us early on in the planning stages, so we can, be more involved with the process in
Like
the
August.
second year.
Well, he mentioned something this summer too, before school.
Yes.
So if you came earlier and you wanted us to help with advertising, then you would have the flyer done with our name on it, and it would be specific to the advertising of the event.
I'd like to just make one point following up. Jamie, you described what you were doing and you mentioned Samaritan House, and 1,000% agree with what they do and what they've been through. the last year and a half. You're not doing this to put the Lions Club out there. DDA, I would say, we don't want our name on here or anything, because we want to have our name out there as well. We just have policies and procedures
Right.
that we have to read and go by. So that would be
I
the
understand.
only reason for hesitation on, just a flat out go. It's just simply what we have to follow as well with the money we have, so.
I understand.
Okay, so
I've got a motion.
on the floor, did we get Carl did a second? Roll call, Elizabeth?
Humphreys,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes?
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming by.
What are the next steps?
Oh, you want to know how to get the money?
Yeah, do we go shopping and then submit to you guys the receipt for reimbursement?
Carol
or-
will cut a check for $250 to the Romeo Lions.
Okay,
Do you know where Carol's office is?
Right on Washington Street.
okay,
If you show up at Romeo Accountants, you'll have a check there.
okay, yeah.
And then just get the receipts for whatever you purchased.
Yeah,
so
we'll
we can
bring the
submit
receipts
them.
back to you guys.
Jamie?
Perfect.
So just, so that we all know, Elizabeth brought the rules where it says, the applicant shall provide paid receipts for all funds to the treasurer within 60 days of disbursement of funds. So you have 60 days, once you get.
Fair
the
enough. Fair enough. Thank
And you
so
can
much
just
for your
bring those
time.
just bring those to the village office, and then I can get the, we'll just, the receipts can go to wherever they need to go to.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. Have a good
All
Thanks,
right,
Jamie.
have a good night. Okay. Next up, treasurer's report. Carol?
Well, as you already know, I am resigning from the GDA board. I've been on it for 15 years, and I figure I've put my time in. I didn't get the gold clock, but hey, So anyway, my term as a board member is up in December 31st, so I'll stay that long. And then until you guys get all situated with what you want to do to take over what I did, I will stay on to answer questions. I mean, pay bills, answer questions, whatever we got to do in order to make it a smooth transition. But Grandma's getting old, so I retired, semi-retired from my office awful, so.
So
Besides-
it's with a heavy heart, Carol, that I accept your resignation. I wish you well. 15 years, you've been doing this way longer than I have ever been involved in any service on the DDA board. I know that you stepped up at a time of need, and you were a great friend and ally to the downtown business district. Everything that you have done with the MRP and all the other programs that you sponsored and mentored, and your presence will be missed. We wish you well in your retirement, and please stay a friend. And while I don't have the gold clock, I do have some flowers and some chocolate that I'll give you later to take home as a parting gift. So, again, just a minor show of our appreciation for all the time and effort that you have given us. So.
Well, I thank you.
And I echo that too, Carol, because I know it was a volunteer position, and
If-
being an accountant and doing this during tax season didn't always mesh well either, did it?
I'm a glutton for punishment, Bill just said. So, let's get on to the treasurer's report.
Well, we have to amend our approval of the bills that we
Right.
paid. Okay. Are you-
That is the next thing. And when I did the report last month, I had in my head that October 4th was part of that payment thing. So I picked up all of the, when I ran the report, I ran it from October 4th through October 26th. And actually, it should have been from October 5th to the 26th. So there's a new report here. And we need to, there's a resolution. It says to approve the new amount, which is only $143.32. These little numbers are hard to read. Instead of 16,000. So, that's what I'm asking, is that the board approve the amended correction for the November 1st meeting. Or, was it November 1st?
Yeah, so Carol, if you wanted to read the recommended motion that's on the action item, that way we have it all
It
from
says
one
pass
amount
the
to the other.
motion as worded under recommendations, okay.
Right above where it's recommended,
To
yeah.
approve amendment of November 1st, board approved payments of bills through October 27th, 21, from the amount of $16,853.49 to $4,143.32.
Is that your motion, Carol?
That's Carol's motion.
Okay.
Carol's motion, and
Who
Megan support.
seconded it?
Megan seconded. Roll call?
Just one note, if I could, Melzan abstained at the last time because there is a invoice for $69 for Romeo printing. I just again want to make a mention that there, if you wish to me abstain
So
from
you have
this,
to
from
abstain
this, from
again?
this vote, I certainly will.
She's just-
Roll call?
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Humphries?
Yes.
Malzahn's abstain?
Yes.
Brandt?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Poznanski? Stevens?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
So now for this month's
Now
bill.
for this month. Okay, this one is dated December the 1st. And it is for, I can't read it.
$12,470.66.
How much, honey?
Huh?
It's right-
1270006.
$12,400 and,
It's also on the front page of the agenda, and they're highlighted. It's on the front page.
Right
of the-
here, yeah. 12,470.66. It covers from October 21st through December 1st. It covers a Vans Valley payment for watering, a advertising in the record for WANAD, our final AT&T bill, Hooks Engraving for these beautiful plaques.
wait a minute, the Help Wanted ad.
Yeah,
we
it
finally
went
get around
2
to paying it?
weeks. It
Pardon me?
went twice, and I paid one last time, and then Elizabeth brought me a second one.
There were two separate,
For your
It
position?
wasn't, no, it
No,
wasn't.
no.
Actually, it's, this split, it's marked wrong. It shouldn't say help wanted. That would have been for the,
Because I was gonna say, your position was only advertised in the
it wasn't
amendment.
help wanted.
Okay.
It needs to be marked, no,
Okay.
it's not help
You
wanted.
need to see the bill?
It's not for Help Wanted.
Yes, thank you. It was the
No.
master plan update. When you guys, you had to, by law, you had to
Right.
publish that twice,
Yes.
so that's what
What
that was
was
for.
it for?
It was for the master plan update, we had the public
Master
notice,
plan,
the public
okay.
notice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there it is, okay. Okay, then there was, we got, back in June, we got a check for $53.02. And at that meeting, I put the check in the file with all my papers, and I forgot about it. So when it was brought up that it hadn't been cleared, I started hunting through my paperwork and I found it. So I deposited that check. The next one is for cash, and what that was Lisa brought in the petty cash envelope, and she had receipts for $18.36. So I wrote a check to cover that petty cash, which was basically office supplies and a little postage. And I have the petty cash envelope that adds up to $100. I have 80 some dollars in cash and then this check for $18. Then I paid the second installment, 30% to Cold Creek for our holiday greens. And then I paid the credit card bill for Elizabeth for, is that $800, Elizabeth?
No,
522.
$522. And what was that again?
One payment went to the contracted service for SYO, who
Yes.
does the internet and whatnot for the village. So we've got great Wi-Fi upstairs finally. So we've got that all connected, connecting the printer to the computers and whatnot, so I can print directly to the big printer and whatnot.
It was dues.
There was a fee for my attending the conference. There was some keys that were made at Home Depot. And there was another thing on there, but we've got all the receipts.
Yeah, we got all
attached.
the receipts for that. Then I transferred some money. Well, I'll go down a little bit. The rest are payrolls and payroll taxes. When I went to deposit the 2 checks from the state of Michigan that we got, one for Washington, one for Bruce, for the subsidy on the personal property tax, I accidentally put them in the payroll account instead of the general account, so I had to take it from the payroll account, take it out of there, put it over to the other one, so it zeroes out. So actually, the only deposit was, I think it was $2 and some cents for interest, and the $53 for the delinquent taxes, and the subsidy for the state of Michigan. So I'm asking for $12,470 and, sorry, 66 cents to be approved.
Is that
And I have all the receipts here if anybody wants to see them.
What were you gonna-
is that your motion? I'm not sure how you guys usually run this part of it, so I'm just,
No, nobody's made a motion yet.
No.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills for December in the amount of $12,470.66.
Carol, petty cash, you mentioned $100.
That's what our petty cash fund is. She gave me 80-some dollars in cash back, and then $18.30-some cents in receipts.
But why is there 130?
No. Where's 150?
That's for Hooks and Green.
There's no,
Yeah,
there's
so-
no 100 on here at all.
So just shy of 100 is what, that's in your possession now?
I got exactly 100.
It added up to 100?
Yeah, I was offering
Now,
it
is
to
that-
Elizabeth, but she didn't want to take it.
Right, so that's what I was getting at. So is that gonna be deposited? What are we doing with that $100 petty?
Usually we kept it around for small purchases.
You need it.
We need a $100 petty cash around, and who's
I
gonna?
mean,
who's
had it
gonna
for
hold
15 years. I don't know what you want to do.
I don't know that there's any institution, right, that doesn't have a
She's
credit
got
card
a
payment.
new Visa card that we got for her.
I don't know why you would
So
need
that
to
could be
bother with
used
petty
just as
cash.
well.
Pardon?
We probably
I don't know why you would
need-
need to bother with petty cash, like Zach said, there
I
isn't
pre-
anybody that you can't use your credit card with.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause-
So until there's a petty cash policy, I am not comfortable having cash in my possession.
Can we just deposit it into the
So
account?
just
and then
deposit
wait a
it?
bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to do that, to just deposit that money back into
Well, we
our
have a motion on the
general account.
floor.
Oh, did somebody make a motion to deposit the money?
No,
Oh.
we've got
we have a
one.
Oh,
motion
I'm
to pay
sorry.
the bills.
Oh, to pay the bills, we got distracted, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
And then we can do.
So I made
Yes.
the motion, I think Megan seconded it. Yep.
You
Roll
ready?
call?
Okay, Humphries,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to deposit $100 petty cash into our account. And we can bring it up at a later date if we deem it's needed, necessary.
Second.
Motion by Rose, second by
Hayes.
Hayes. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Roll call?
Humphries,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Kaznowski,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay, the next sheet you have is a revenue report. And it shows all the checks we've got in, and also the two amounts that are due from Washington and Bruce, but we won't get that until after the winter bill comes in. So that'll probably hit our doors in March. So we basically got all our cash until March. But I wanted you to know what we got from each individual things. The new treasurer will have to make one of these out when they do their stuff. And I'll show her how to do it.
So we have another $192,000.
No, we have
To be collected, $192,000.
$28,599 is what's
Where you at?
right down here, honey.
Okay.
That's these two amounts, 10,000 from Bruce and 17,006 from Washington. Okay, I think this part is in the next is the budget versus actual. And I was gonna ask, what, if you wanted to form committees, how you wanted to handle, because I didn't want to forget about them, the budget items that we decided to work on this year, really need to form committees for spending. One of the things that Elizabeth pointed out was that because we hadn't done anything with the igloos, she doubted that we'd be able to get them in March, January, February, March. You were talking about doing those snowmen, and that was in February?
Yeah, so Carol, so you had me make copies of the budget, and then you highlighted and had some notes on it. So I put that under unfinished business
Right, so we'll
item. So
postpone
we
that
talk
part.
about that one then. If that's okay, 'cause that's where we had your copies, where your highlights are. Okay.
The next thing is just copies of the bank statement as of October 31st. So you see how much is in the bank. And by doing that, if you take to the second page, which is our investment account, our money market account, you see that it's way over limit. And my suggestion is to take the money that we set aside as our village sharing money, that we kind of want to share with them for expenses, and put that in another bank, because it has to go to a different bank in order to be insured. And that's $131,000, and just get a checking account to go with it. And as we need to write the checks, we'll just write it from that account. Tri-County is one of the banks that's acceptable, and it's local, right near downtown. They're new in our neighborhood, and I thought it would be good to put a little money in there, because it'd be close. So, up for discussion, what you guys want to do.
A few months back, and I don't know how long ago, I think it was really right when I started, there was discussion about transferring funds and.
Into
coming
a
up with-
CD, right?
Yeah, was this ever?
No, I never did it because they only paid 0.25 interest.
So that was
Or
never,
0.0025.
that was never done, that same discussion led to the bank that we were using, and so what we're looking at on these statements is all the entire accounts. At Hunt.
We have 3 accounts.
At Hunt.
One is our general account. At the end of October, we had 15,000 in it.
Okay,
Now we have, $15,253 in there right now.
okay.
In the investment account, which is the next sheet, there's $343,000, $74.59. That's the one we need to remove the money from.
Okay.
And then the last one is the payroll account, and right now there's $12,000 in there.
So
Why do
the-
we-
So these three that I'm looking at are the entirety of our accounts?
Yes.
Okay.
Except,
We-
yeah,
And
bank
s-
accounts,
And
yes.
so, bank accounts, okay. Now, you are proposing we take some money out for reasons that are obvious as far as, insured limit.
From what I read, is the FDIC is $250,000 per company, per bank. So if you got 20 accounts and they add up to more than 250,000, you're not covered. Or if you have one account, same difference, you're not covered. So to protect our money, in case something catastrophic happens, I suggest moving it to another bank.
So, and this is where you're coming up with this 131?
The
to
131
remove.
is in, if you go to your budget sheet and you go into CBD, revenue sharing, that's the Central Business District revenue sharing with the village. We were gonna share part of the street signs and striping, the LED lighting program, the Main Street pedestrian crossing program, and renovation of the village park. And that all added up to 131,000. So that's, I figured that would be a nice way to track it with one particular bank account.
So
And then
it-
how, then, I'm sorry, really getting to my point then, how soon will we exceed this amount again in the rest of what's left here? I mean, I don't know how we're using.
We
all of
only
these.
have another $28,000 coming in.
Okay.
Christine, the village must have far more than that in the single bank.
Yes, and so municipal banking is a little bit different, and our accounts come in and go out so that they can capture the most interest possible. And so while I appreciate Carol's input, my suggestion right now is that we wait until we get to that agenda item when we talk about hiring a new treasurer and new financials to make a plan moving forward. How do we want to move it? So I'm going to make a motion to just accept and file Carol's treasurer's report, and the recommendation portion of what we should do with our money should probably come under that other agenda item.
I think I just have one more thing left, and that's the PayPal account.
It was,
your motion?
it was a motion, but,
I'll-
technically, we don't typically make a motion for the treasurer's report, but I wanted to just acknowledge the information that Carol has submitted, for sure.
I'll second your motion.
Okay.
Is to put it down to the other part.
Yeah, when we talk about the, yeah.
Okay.
the
Do you want to do a
financials.
PayPal account then too?
Just wait till they vote.
Motion by Malzahn, second by Hayes.
Roll call.
Just a voice vote?
Humphries,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Osmanski, Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
May I ask a point of order? When a motion is made and then we vote, is it necessary that that the maker of the motion followed by the
Second.
second are vote first and second, or is that?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay,
That's how we've called it in the past,
that's
but I
not,
don't know if it's required.
I don't believe it is a Robert's Rules of Order procedure-wise, but we can certainly look into that. It could be considered a best practice. Catherine does that when she calls the roll at the village level, but I don't know if it's required.
okay.
So we could certainly just double check on that.
Then I'm fine either way, just wanna make sure we're.
Sure.
in
Mhm.
order.
Okay.
And the last piece is the annual report that we file with the state of Michigan. It's an online report, and it's all filed, and I have an email from the gentleman that takes care of this stating that he did receive it.
So that's the report that has to be filed within 180 days.
Right. Okay.
Done for now.
All right.
Thank you.
The other thing was, she had mentioned
Are there two PayPal accounts? Is that what I'm reading?
I was unaware that there was a PayPal account, so
Mhm.
when I needed to take care of, submitting the payment for the internet and whatnot, I opened up a PayPal account under my name, but using all of the DDA information. So, Carol has, let me know that there is a PayPal account that has $43.16 in it. When there was, money was received for the ghost hunters and whatnot, it flowed through that. So I don't know that you need to do anything about it today, we can figure that out, but that's her recommended, we're just trying to figure out.
Well, wouldn't you take that money, put it in
The
the account you just
PayPal
opened?
account that's a few years old is under the DDA name.
I think we should keep the one that's in the DDA name if it's your name on the new account.
No, it's DDA as well, it's just that I'm an authorized user on it.
Oh, so it's not, it's, okay, I was confused.
That's-
I guess, Elizabeth, since you're the one, who's gonna be managing it, I would defer to you as far as how we proceed, or if we take that point when we talk about the new accounting practices,
I think it would be.
at that time, we can make a decision on that as well.
I think so.
So do I just deposit it in our regular checking?
We haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why money should stay in the PayPal account, so I don't have a problem if she went ahead and just
It can just
put
get
it into the
transferred to the checking and still exist.
Right, and then the account
You
could
could
just be closed at any
transfer it
point.
into the checking account, the balance that's in the PayPal.
I could do that.
Yep.
And close that one then?
Just to be tidy, I would suggest you make a motion if you,
I make a motion that Carol transfers the $43.16 into our current general checking account and closes out that DDA PayPal account. Second?
Okay, give me 1 second. Didn't take shorthand.
Sorry.
That's all right.
The older, the two, close out the older.
Mhm.
Motion by Stevens, second by Poznanski, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Humphreys,
Yes.
Malzahn,
yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski, Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
The DDA executive report. Elizabeth?
So, do you guys want me to read the whole thing? Have everybody read it? You want to touch highlights? You have questions? How would you like me to proceed? I realize it's lengthy, so I
I
will do
read it.
whatever you prefer.
I don't think you have to go line by line.
I would
That's
put a
fine.
highlight, 'cause
Quick
then
highlight,
we read
okay.
it and we have it, but if anyone's watching, so
Sure.
they have an idea, I suppose.
Okay, sounds good. So just in setting up shop, so to speak, the office space is working well. I found out Tim from DPW is gonna rearrange some of the desk, so it flows a lot better upstairs, so I'm excited about that. But we had to wait till the leaves were done and some other stuff that took a higher priority, of course, in the village. And I appreciate the village staff and President Malzahn working with equipment they already have that we get to use, basically for free, because they're desk components that are just sitting in storage. Chamber mixer was really great out at the.
Fort County?
Thank you. So for the Emmas, which was really nice, and it was nice to be part of that. Participating with Village Council meeting, the Fort County Foundation event was very helpful, and there's already some things in the works that you'll hear about later on. Beautification, flower pots, everything's been put to bed, and everything's going well with that. We're hoping to do an inventory at some point of everything that's out at DPW for multiple reasons for that, not just to check inventory for what happens in the spring and fall, but we need it for insurance purposes as well. The banners went up just in time. DPW did it the day before the Christmas parade and the tree lighting, which it just coordinated beautifully for that, and they still look beautiful. They just look amazing.
And Lisa personally messaged me, and when she must have drove through town that day and messaged me and said, "Oh my goodness, the Christmas banners are up. They look so good. I forgot. It's nice to see that again."
It would be nice to continue to use those. The Foundation for Excellence isn't looking to fund any of those in the near future, except for the graduation banners. And so I think if we could continue to use those, and perhaps some of you could help when the weather is warmer, do an inventory of what's out there and figuring out what to use, maybe what to retire. I think retiring some things in the future could be a great PR opportunity, and it'd be a great way to raise some funds that could be used specifically for something too. People have contacted me regarding the graduation banners, so that's kind of not been a priority in the last 4 days. So I think we just need to look at some of that and decide what to do with some of those items. So pretty excited about the Story Walk project. There was a reporter from a Detroit paper that came out on Saturday, and there's a family in town that I reached out to and said, would you guys like to be featured? And so they came, and it was really cute. So that happened, and then I was in the office late on Friday, working downstairs on the printer, and lo and behold, I'm standing there, and all of a sudden there's faces in the window, and they started reading, so it was pretty cool. Yeah, so it's been well received. The placemaking project, unfortunately, everything in there isn't going to happen. I was contacted by the DIA because we already have a mural. It has to go through the cycle of every other community who may want that. So unfortunately, he didn't realize that they had already been here when they reached out to us and said, would you like to apply again? Benefit from that, however, that happened is the owners of the galleries in town reached out, and they double applied for it. And so we're making some communication there and working on some future projects to collaborate on. Board interviews, I only have 2 left to do. I'm finding some very helpful information on there in doing that, and you all have, you guys are a great team, and I think we're going to do some great stuff together. The Michigan Downtown Association, I won't go through all of this, but there is one of the things, since we had an informational meeting before our regular board meeting tonight, in the future they are rolling out reporting resources, and so there's going to be graphs, and there's a way for us to plug our numbers into this, these data points that can be shared electronically with our constituents. They can be presented at meetings. People can see them here. We can use them on our website. There's a lot of things we can do with that information, and we get all of that included in the MDA membership that we have. So continuing education, you saw my notes in there from attending that. It was very beneficial for me doing that. And then also starting in January, there are going to be, you'll see on there, the webinar series that will be tailored towards board members and managers or directors. There's 6 sessions. They'll be available on demand for $25 per session, a total cost of $150. I would recommend that all board members participate in this. They can be shared electronically for the same cost, and then it could potentially be added as a monthly agenda item for discussion and shared knowledge gained. It's something that we've done through RDL when we did board training, and it was very successful. So that's a suggestion. Your current bylaws, policies, procedures, and the establishment ordinance, all of your policies are in dire need of updating. While reviewing the DDA ordinance, there's several areas where the DDA is not in compliance with the ordinance. In addition, I would recommend that the board consider a code of responsibility that would include board training for new members and continued education for current board members. And then there's some financial matters down below there. And some of those things can be addressed, further on in the agenda. Do you have any questions?
I have a couple.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for such a complete report.
You're welcome.
Quite a bit here, which I know you've been busy. A couple just minor things. First of all, holiday decor and lighting. I was told, and I've been answering it without knowing the answer, Stark Weather Alley was missed, and I don't know, I was told that was inventory issues, that there were only so many. Normally there's the stars and snowflakes and everything like that, so I haven't seen the other alleys that were done, and Stark Weather wasn't this year, so just pointing that out so we can see maybe was it inventory and what do we have to do for next time?
Yeah, I know
Are we aware of
Matt
that?
Drost from Cold Frame said that there were, lights have slowly been going out. All of those snowflakes that
Right.
are around, I noticed one was out last night when I was coming through town.
Yeah.
But those are dwindling as
Yeah,
far as,
that's how I've been
they've been
answering it,
replacing.
that we just don't have the inventory, unfortunately, for this year, but hopefully we address that for the next round, so I just want to put that
I
out
always
there
thought
now.
those stars were different, that those were different snowflakes that hung down the alley.
Yeah, that
Or
was like
were you-
the
or
ones
were
we
you
already
talking
had,
about the
always had.
pole?
I don't even know how they're usually done. I know there's usually snowflakes running down the alleys.
The snowflakes. that
They
you
were
were
strung
talking
between the buildings, and there were some anchors put in the building, in the brick walls at one point to
Because they were hanging in the
to
center.
support them, yeah.
They were
So
more
none-
like a snowflake.
So that wasn't done.
Mm.
If we're aware of it, I don't know if you paid for it, but that wasn't done.
I wanna say those were always ours and they stored them.
You'd have to
for
look at the
us.
RFPs and what they explicitly say in what this one that we just did, if it still states that.
Well, I know Matt, when he was done with it, he reached out to me and said he used everything that we had, and all the green lights are their personal lights. So any of the greens that you see, especially over by and I always forget what it's called, is it Peyton Way? I always want to call it Lombardo something. But yeah, so all the greens that are over there, those are actually his own personal lights that he put up. So everything's being used that is available to be used.
So we probably ran out of whatever was
I
up
think
last
so.
year, because it wasn't, so,
We wouldn't just run out of our snowflakes. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
we had
no, I
3
do
or
know what
6
you're
of them
saying.
or something like that. Like, where would?
Where are they?
Right.
Yeah.
Possible they're in DPW somewhere?
No.
I don't think, I always just remember.
They take them down, I don't know.
Doesn't Coldframe take them down?
They put them out, they take them down.
Do they take them out to DPW?
That's a Lisa question, I don't know.
I don't know either.
so I'm not usually big on going backwards on things, but let's at least make a note, so maybe next year before this is done, we can kind of make sure we know what the plan is and whether we're changing it or keeping it the same.
And we do need to start talking about going further with our Christmas decorations. We did that bow purchase and haven't done anything in a couple of years, and we need, these snowflakes they've been on their last leg for
Right.
a while. Somewhere down the line,
Megan?
talk about that.
So unless somebody has a different answer, I'm just saying we just don't have the inventory for it for this year.
I'm sorry.
One more thing for me, just on your notes.
Sure.
Elizabeth, Story Walk Project.
Mhm.
These are gonna be up until when?
January 1st.
Okay, there was some misinformation posted, actually, Mid-TV posted that it was done. Last weekend was the final day,
Oh,
and I
no.
got some questions about that, and I
think that's what it
corrected it the best I could. I said, no, it's
Yeah.
certainly through Christmas, and I would get the final date, but I don't know where Mid got their information, but
So
that
I'm
was
glad you mentioned
in
that.
error.
So a wonderful thing that I've learned about Facebook is they only allow you to create an event for a certain length of time. I kept trying to make it the whole time, but it wouldn't let me. And then I tried to change it, so it said that it ended December, today's the 6th, right? It says it ends today, but we just have to go in and create a new event to extend it beyond. But no, the information that we have out there, aside from the event itself, the Facebook event, it's been promoted. Anytime anybody's asked a question, I've responded and saying until January 1st.
Outside of Facebook, maybe in the future, if we do like an event like this, we can have like a press release that can get sent to
Absolutely.
Mid-TV, get sent to the record, just so that anybody who's potentially going to promote the event or be in the know,
Or
they
even
can.
next to the storybook pages, not that we need more stuff on it, but like a small, how long it's going till? I don't know.
Yeah.
If you
That's a
use the
great
QR
suggestion.
code, does that say?
I think the QR code pulls this up.
Okay.
The same map, I believe. But good information. I'll pass that on to Claire,
Mhm.
for sure. No problem.
Is it
Question from
possible,
Michael.
just to do a quick call to Matt or Lisa to ask about those snowflakes? Just in case they got missed, and they are sitting somewhere, so ask them if they, weren't functioning, that's, understandable. If they got put someplace else, and they're, installed in another location, that's fine, but if they're just out there missing, then maybe we can ask the DPW to
Take them down
look
there.
underneath whatever, and
Sure.
if they're there,
Because it was my
put them up.
understanding it was going to be exactly the same.
And that would be in the RFP too, to pull that.
We've talked about the need to
right.
replace stuff as it wears out.
Right.
Right, and,
And we
and
should
and they
be
may
looking
not
at-
have had enough, which if he's used everything, that's fine, I just wanna make sure they were accounted for. If they're there or not usable, then that's accounted for.
The scrolly things, is that what you guys are calling
No.
snowflakes?
No.
It's an
There was
actual
literally
snowflake.
just a freestanding
Yes.
snowflake
Yes,
that
I know what you're
came
talking
down
about.
the alley. There was
Yes,
This
I
stuff
know
needs-
that.
three.
Yes,
Stuff needs to be purchased in June, July, or.
Yeah, it does.
they were strung between the buildings.
So the other decorative lights that are on the poles,
The ones with the snowflake, they're red and white, yes. Mhm.
He's replaced some of those lights
Yes.
with new strings as they've been going out, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now, the stores the shelves are stripped. I was in Home Depot at 5 o'clock, and I was stunned at how little stuff is left out
I
on the
know.
shelves. So if we're gonna buy this stuff for next year, it's really gotta be ordered in the spring.
Yeah.
And Megan, you mentioned, I know the across the road decoration, which was awesome, but we can't do it because of the trucks, right?
I
The-
don't know, I remember
It was
we
the weight.
stalled out
It was the
with
weight.
that, about the weight limit of the
Mhm.
poles and the wind.
Is there a possibility of putting that type of decoration in the alleyway?
You know, you guys, I think this is a conversation for a subcommittee.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good idea.
I just have one question in your report, Elizabeth. You're talking about the continued education, and the cost is $150. Is that something the DDA would purchase, and then we can watch these?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, yes. So, I mean, it's based on your purchase policy, if that's something that even one member was interested in, I would highly recommend that be done. I don't think that you need to make a motion
Right.
to spend the $150, but if that's something you guys wanted to do when that comes through,
I would be
also
interested.
be attending, doing that myself. So it would just be shared, it would be a link that would be shared amongst the board and myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Any
Uh,
other questions?
Down under financial matters, under transition phase payroll, I just want to note, we'll finish out the year pro bono, like we've been doing, but if we need to go into 22, our rates, payroll is $125 to write the checks, to pay the taxes, to do what we need to do. So just,
Well, that's further on
huh?
where you presented that was down the line on the agenda.
Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I just didn't want to forget about that.
Okay.
And then we do need to do some small purchasing. Need to get a thumb drive that'll take the whole backup on the QuickBooks file so it can be converted to QuickBooks Online. We need to purchase a QuickBooks Online, and
Carol,
we need to get
that's
totes.
in the stuff down here.
Another one, okay.
Okay,
Just don't want to forget anything.
all right. I don't believe there are any committee reports. So let's move on to unfinished business. Now you get to talk, Carol.
You did. Okay, budget
Agenda
items.
item number 10. Number A, unfinished business, is budget items. Carol, you wanted this in the packet, I think.
I didn't hear what you said, Kelly.
You had requested that she include the,
Yes, the budget items.
yes.
Yes. We had talked about, is this for the 131,000? That's the first part of it, the revenue sharing. I would like to move the money out of Huntington Bank and move it into another bank. It doesn't matter which one. PNC, Chase, Tri-County, they're all approved.
Didn't we motion to table that
Yeah.
until,
Right now, we're gonna talk about the budget,
this
Carol.
is the, where you highlighted and had
You
numbers on it?
highlighted.
Right, the 131,000.
No,
No.
no, the budget.
Oh, the other one? Okay.
Where
So,
you,
Carol,
number
if you
one.
go 2 pages past the unfinished business where they're my notes, and then you had the 2 pages that are the highlighted
Yeah, I've got the
ones.
one of the brick and
Nope,
mortar
these-
projects, is that what you got?
Yes, it's these guys right here that you have highlighted.
Okay, we
So-
need to know if we can set up maybe some subcommittees,
Well,
or which ones do we
So you
want to
pr-
work on?
on this budget, number one, you have highlighted trash can project. Is this completed?
The answer is yes,
Yeah.
right? We were done with it after we did the sandblasting and the powder coating of the trash cans.
Yes, so
correct?
that one is done, Carol.
Benches are done.
Trash can project is
Trash can.
completed.
Okay.
The only reason we kept trash on there though
For
was we were.
future maintenance.
Yeah, we
That
were
was
going
more
to be
future
working on the
maintenance.
project,
It's
but it's
done.
just so that, cause these will fall apart eventually, we need money
Yeah.
in there to buy.
So we
So
did
that-
budget $1,000.
That $1,000 is ongoing maintenance for when it comes up again and they have to be done again, we
Or
can do
purchase
it
it,
and have
whatever it
money
is, yeah.
marked
But
for that.
if they need to readjust the budget in June, that would be a good one to readjust.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So your second question is in regards to the benches. Do we need to purchase any more? I thought that was a complete project.
It is, but I think this is the same
as the
maintenance.
bench, as the
It's
garbage
meant-
cans.
This
So
is
that's
fine,
done
because they
also.
fell apart over time, so this is
But the
more-
monies that are earmarked for those, Carol, are for future
Replacement,
maintenance. Yep,
yes.
Call it a sinking fund.
yep.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah,
There's
that are,
for
will
that.
roll over and we'll have money when we need it to purchase
Right.
at that time.
And then number 3, you have priorities.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now.
So are you asking us to prioritize these goals as far as moving forward with subcommittees? Is that more what it is, like how we want to tackle it as a board?
How do you want to establish it? Yes. Number 3 is what order would you say would be the most important to do? And then how should it follow?
Well, right now, I think these are all still further down the
I
agenda
wish-
when we're talking about going towards our, finding a new accountant and how we're going to handle all this.
Okay. Well, I just need to bring it up because I don't want to forget it.
Yeah, I think I think we're all at the point where we're at the stages of new subcommittees being formed and tackling some of these projects now that it's here. And this is a good breakdown of some of the things that we had on deck for the streetscapes. So I think between forming some subcommittees, I think we can knock a couple of these out. So I don't think we necessarily need to prioritize it, as it's gonna come out in
Right.
subcommittees.
Right. And I don't think we need to do that right now. I think come January is when we would want to make our subcommittees for the
Well,
upcoming.
all these projects have like a 6-month lead time.
Mhm.
So, you know, if we
The
want them
dumpsters
for
are just like the
before our
garbage
year
cans.
end,
Yeah, those aren't going anywhere till
we
we
gotta
start
start
looking.
thinking about them in January.
Right, mm-hmm.
I think perhaps if, as we revisit our year in review and we recap what's happened the last 6 months or the first 6 months of this fiscal year, when we meet in January, we can recap, what do we want to do, what have we done?
What
and then
committees do we wanna form?
And we can prioritize it from
Yeah.
there at our January meeting.
I agree.
And then, we talked about future land acquisition, and I think that's what,
The closed
Chris was
session is
talking
gonna be
about.
about, okay?
so that's what that one is. And then, I guess Christine can answer these questions of where we stand with the, projects we wanna go with the village.
Right, well, again, I can answer briefly each one of these, but we can take a look at that and what we have done in a recap of what we've done this past 6 months, and then figure out what we want to do
Well, part
moving
of this
forward.
report is
So-
the next steps on our agenda here.
Right,
It'll address those things.
most of those, yes.
Okay, so Carol, that's it for the budget items. So when we go through the rest of the, agenda, it will answer some of these questions.
Okay,
Website rebuilds,
Yeah, so.
Elizabeth.
Thank you. So we are going to start receiving monthly reports, and I'm looking for some direction. I'm assuming you won't want me to print 7 pages in full color every month. But in
No,
those
thank
who-
you.
But those who do, I will happily do that, but I can send a link so that you can see this. But as you can see, there's really not much data there, but you'll see that it will, as it starts to get filled in, you'll see more. So now that, payment has been processed, the wireframe of the website is currently under construction. The business director is going to be brought over from our current site, and then businesses will be contacted and asked if they'd like to have the updated information, photos, phone numbers, emails, hyperlinks, things like that. I think will be really helpful in looking at other DDA websites. Some do a great job, others do a not so great job. So I think we want to stand out and really support the businesses and give them as many opportunities for people just to click on something. There's nothing more annoying as a consumer when you're trying to hit a hyperlink for a phone number just to call somebody straight, and you can't. So I want to make sure that's done appropriately, and our web developer agrees. We are planning to, in early January, to launch a photo contest for submitting photos of the downtown Romeo in all 4 seasons. He believes strongly in changing the website on a seasonal basis to keep it fresh. That also helps keep us up on the higher, I don't know what it's called, but when you click on Google and whatnot, when
The
those
word
things are
search,
updated.
keyword search,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So that'll be helpful, and if there's any suggestions, if anybody wants to possibly contribute some prizes to go towards the winners, and then of course the photos will become the property of the DDA to use and so forth. I now have access, thanks to Megan, to make some edits on Facebook. The Story Walk posts have garnered some tremendous attention, and we're seeing some promising statistics on that. We need to somehow connect Instagram and Facebook, and I know there's a couple of glitches.
Very, Instagram's set up
Frustrating.
differently
Yeah.
than Facebook, and I've looked at it a few times. I think the easiest way at this point is to just give you the password.
Okay.
It just takes so much, you have to go through Facebook to share the Instagram, the way that it's set up.
So maybe we can just get together and figure out a way to do that.
I can just give you the password. and you
Okay,
can
so
go
we'll,
there.
so we'll do that, and then if anyone's aware of any other social media accounts or anything like that that are connected to the DDA, we want to make sure that those all get linked together. As the website gets developed and once it hits, it goes live, anytime a blog post is made, anytime posts are made, it will go across all platforms at the same time. So to, was it Zach's point, I think, in regards to like a press release, that's exactly what this will have. So every single media source will have the same information, so hopefully won't have misinformation in the future. Any questions on that?
Was Channel 4 here today for that? Does anybody know?
I saw them out in front of like office.
Yeah.
buildings.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. They pulled up in front of my building and then they went back around town, so.
So,
I'm not aware of any other social medias. I started Instagram a few years ago when Instagram started becoming a thing. Has anybody else ever created anything or know of anything?
Okay.
this is Think Street's November 1st to November 30th. Every month they're doing this type of a report. I'm not
Yes.
asking for it in full color. Although I guess if the village is paying for it, why not, right? The backups, every 24 hours, that's, I'm assuming, is part of their hosting that they're
Yes.
providing for us?
That's how I understand it.
So when we, in a year from now, discuss hosting, we need to be aware of the backup feature, I guess. I'm just putting that out there. Who is our website team? I just wanted, you talked about our
Well,
our
I'm
website.
using myself and the web developer, the website developer, so Sean O'Brien.
So, because you used it in reference to Facebook and Instagram, but he's not working with Facebook and Instagram.
No, I guess, and that would be, Megan posts on there. I think Zach has access to that as well.
So at this moment,
That's it.
you're the team.
The James Taylor, the one-man band thing, yeah. there you go.
Okay, pedestrian crosswalk project update.
Yeah, so I've been working in collaboration with the village office to get the temporary construction easements distributed and assigned by building owners that are affected. Christine probably could speak a little bit more too, but we're just working on making sure that our communication are in sync with all the different business owners, and we'll be launching that, as it gets closer.
It's quite complicated because MDOT is involved, and so there's a process. It's not just as easy as me knocking on, your door, Kelly, and saying, hey, we are gonna, replace your sidewalk. I was gonna put this, there's a whole process that we have to do to determine, the value of the land and how long are we gonna need to be on there to pour the concrete, right? How long are you gonna be, and then obviously the set of forms that have to be drafted formally. And so that's where we're working right now. It had to be done, and the easements have to be completed by January 3rd. I have a go-to meeting tomorrow morning with MDOT to finalize their input on that. So hopefully Elizabeth and I can be making the rounds or scheduling. We talked about scheduling a meeting of all of the affected areas. There are 3 in Bruce Township and 4 in Washington Township that we need easements for. So rather than us going 7 times, we were gonna try and get one little group meeting together. So, but
If we're able to, or even 2 would be great.
time is quite pressing with January 3rd right around the corner, so we're gonna do our best to accommodate that and MDOT's requirements.
parking, the parking study update and what we have available to us in the village was completed. My take on it is we don't have a lot of parking.
I was really, really shocked when I looked at these numbers at how much was private.
Yes,
I really didn't realize that the difference was so great between private and public parking.
They not made note of the fact where they consider that it's a municipal parking lot in the southwest quadrant. They have not noted the fact, or they don't know that how much of that's private property.
Yeah,
I assume everybody in the room knows it's private property, in which,
it's noted
Right.
on here.
No, it's not.
no, I'm talking about where there's saying there's 80 spots in the municipal parking lot. I'm telling you that a
It's
good
not
third of that
private.
is owned privately, and everybody knows it. If they don't, they should. You can ask Carl.
Yeah, it's not, I noticed that it was not marked on here.
What's shown as a municipal parking lot,
Right.
80 spots, no, that's not, it is, yes, it's used as a municipal parking lot. We've accepted that, we've negotiated the reasons for the 2 lanes not being marked, but that's actually private property.
So then this should be redone.
No, I'm just making note of the facts so that we,
Well, it's not done right.
Kelly, unless you know the history of what went on there, I suppose you wouldn't really know.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm just, you know, I know. that
That's
there-
fine,
Well,
but this still is not done properly.
yeah, I mean, to Kelly's point, if
So
the
you're
goal of
talking
this
about
was to get an accurate inventory of what spaces the downtown area has, if just by 2 people who are business owners in that quadrant know that this is inaccurate, how many other notes on here are wrong as well? Because it's basically just, it seems like it's just done by, from a.
Okay, they didn't take a plat map or there's something in the county and overlay it. And I'm only making note of the fact because I've been taking care of it for the last 45 years.
But it should be noted that there are not 80 spaces in that lot.
That are publicly owned, there's,
Because that would throw up our numbers at the end, big time.
no, I mean, it's,
It's only gonna come into a problem is if they mark them or put meters in for the usage of that part of it. I think it's a municipal lot. People
it is and
come
it
and
isn't.
go all
It's,
day.
but it's not though.
But it's
because
not.
if those are tied to the spaces that are currently
Because at one
part
point,
of the ordinances.
they currently are right now, but the person that owns them could decide to get
If
rid
it
of
changes
them.
hands.
No.
Yeah, I don't know how to agree. with
yes and no. I mean,
My point is, the report is not properly,
you're correct, Kelly. I agree with you. I made note of the fact because I just wanted to
well, I realize,
and
what-
say, wait a minute, you know, I just got a tax bill for that property.
right.
And you know, I know that you know that.
Well,
that's
he
fine.
has a note in here, if anybody sees anything wrong, that they need to be made aware of it.
I have an
missed it.
email I'd like to read to you.
Okay.
Okay.
There's
So,
also, I did notice some spots where it's like, where
Yeah.
the sushi and where the sushi place is, I think it noted it as a loading zone, but we know it's being used as parking. I mean,
Correct.
there's probably 4 or 5 cars that park back there every day. But they're not, because they're not marked, it's basically saying it's a loading zone.
There's along South Main Street behind those buildings, there are non-marked, I think he says there's unmarked parking.
Right.
And it's been there since before any of you were born. It's just the way, it's the way it is.
I
Says
know
if,
you have an email to read. I just want to make my point of, we paid for a service. I want to make sure we're receiving
Accurate information.
accurate information. Are we receiving what we paid for? These points here, which are being discussed, which are valid and understandably, he said if we find anything inaccurate to let them know. These aerial shots are dated December 2021. They can't be taken in 2021 December. There's
No snow on it.
full foliage and,
Yeah.
so are these just old photos that he
Maybe that's the day. they
printed
were-
out? So I just want to make sure we're receiving what we
I thought about that myself, John, and I went back and I looked at the original scope of services, and it said, using aerial photography as a base, as well as Macomb County property tax data, Rowe can prepare maps of each quadrant of the DDA district, identifying the number of parking spaces both on-street and off-street. Off-street spaces will be differentiated between public and private. Clarifications to our scope of services. The accuracy of the map will be based on aerial photography, no field measurements, staking, or survey work will be provided. No official recommendations for improvements or changes will be provided. However, should ideas become evident during the course of the study, they will be provided for possible further village study or investigation. So basically, it's what can you see with the naked eye? It's not going beyond that to give us anything that's gonna be digging deeper to what Bill's speaking on.
I fully recognize, and it's the 466 spots is probably somewhere within reason of being correct.
Right.
Okay? Agree with all that. I'm just making note of the fact that it's in the minutes that some of that property is zoned, that he's showing as being publicly owned is not.
So if there's updates that we know need to be made to this list, I think we should make that recommendation, but I think based on the scope of the work, this is kind of what I think.
There's another mistake on
Okay.
where the condos are.
Okay, Elizabeth has an email, we're gonna listen to what,
So on the second page, from under old business, under item D, I included, the email from Paul O'Meara from Rowe Professional Services that states on there specifically, you know, if you find errors, let us know. This came in Friday morning as I was working on your board packets, expecting other stuff that was gonna take most of my time, and then this came through, so I thought it was imperative to include it in your board packet for a quick, to review it. So I think it would make sense, to have him come before you to talk through some of these things, but perhaps, Bill, maybe you and I can be on the phone. The purpose of spending $2,500 to have this done is to get accurate information, right? So,
It was the inventory of the fact there's 466 parking spots. That's great, we now know that. We didn't know that before.
yes. So I feel that it's an important role of the DDA is to work with the other boards within the village who are also working and concerned about parking, so we can use this information to bring awareness to, hey, this is where we're at with parking, how could we possibly work together with some of the communities? I spoke with someone from the River of God Church on Friday, talking about they have their parking lot. Would you be interested in working in collaboration with the DDA to be able to use that space and have it be marked as DDA space when it's not being used? She's like, yeah, absolutely, we can definitely talk about that. So these are some of these collaborative things we can do moving forward, but if there's some grave errors, even if it is a minor error, we should fix them, because if we focus just on the errors and not the body of work that's here, we're missing what we've had spent money on.
Well, to that point, you know, when we were talking about this originally, I think some of the conversation was, well, what do we do with this parking study while we have it? And I think a lot of that was, well, we know there's the enforcement issue. This is showing us right here where all the signage is that's posted for the 3-hour parking. We have a list now of spots that should be in rotation and not just all-day parking. So having some of that information is something that I think the DDA is gonna have to take to the village and say, there's a parking problem, these are the spots that are currently spots that can be ticketed if they're sitting there all day, and make it a point to say, we think it needs to be enforced.
Well, the thought process on that is that it's not enforceable, because the court system has just come down with a ruling that unless you have, I should say it's not enforceable, it is enforceable. The village doesn't have the resources or the staffing to properly enforce it. They no longer allow you to mark tires, so they have, you can use a drone, you can use some photography, but the way that it was enforced when the signs were erected 30-some years ago, right? Where they would go by and mark a tire and then go back and see if that, marking was still there in the same position, cannot be utilized. So we know we don't have a meter made, right? We don't have, any other signs that give people a warning that, hey, you've been here more than 3 hours. So
If it's
while you
based
can
on
say it
the
should be enforced.
How many police officers
and
do we
it could be
have?
enforced.
How many police officers do we have?
Currently, we have 4.
Full-time? There's no part-time?
We are short-staffed. Yes, that is not a lot.
Okay. Help me understand that 466 are privately owned? Is that what this is saying?
No,
Or
460 is the total.
how do you-
Oh, yes, private, yes.
Privately owned, and then 199
That
is
are-
what the village owns.
Minus 80.
Plus the
Minus
78 that are in,
80.
that are in our rights of way,
Plus
yeah.
80 and minus.
10 maybe.
Yeah.
So there are 466 privately owned spots. That's pretty amazing.
I was really shocked at that, yeah. And Zach, if you have some suggestions, some other ideas that you can, gather and bring for us for enforcement issues, I'm all for sitting down, and talking that through with our chief of police. But when I speak to him, right now, I don't think we have a way to properly enforce it.
I wouldn't discount all those 466. I would say privately owned, yes, the village doesn't own them, but some of them are for the businesses that are going to be utilizing it, whereas we're thinking open spaces to anybody for all. Whereas some of these 466 are serviced by, okay, so Little Caesars, they have their own parking, so there's certain spots where I would say it's counted, not ours, but it's usable because that business owns it for that business function. You know what I'm trying to
So
say?
it's
But a business
It's
owner
misleading.
could enforce their own parking violations
Yeah,
and
but
have,
what I'm
we-
saying is if I'm going to Little Caesars, I have a there's a spot because I'm using that business and that spot at the business.
Yeah, but
It's
I
not
think-
like there's no spots at Little Caesars.
No, but
You
I
know what
think
I'm trying to say?
the
Like,
idea of like
kind of there,
village parking is the idea of like you can park anywhere and function throughout the village.
Yes,
And
I'm,
to-
correct, they're not the equal, that's not what I'm saying, I'm just saying, but there are usable spaces at certain businesses that own their own for that business, it's not as if there's nothing there. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we have some, for instance, the Romeo Barber Shop. Great. They don't have any on-site parking, so their patrons who are coming to get a haircut are parking in either somebody's privately owned space, Little Caesars, and walking down and grabbing a haircut, or they're parking in the municipal lot. But I see what you're saying, that
It's not as
they're
if
not directly adjacent to.
Yeah.
that's where something I think that, the DDA at some point, in communicating with business owners and lot owners and whatnot, is talking about, okay, are you interested, would you be interested in partnering with the DDA in the signage that says, outside of these hours, you're welcome to park here? So those are the things that other DDAs have been quite successful in working with private property owners who own, say, for example, 10 spots for a business that's only open from 9 to 5, but from 5 o'clock on, no one's there using that business. But for people coming in and visiting, they don't know that they're not gonna get towed there. But if there's signage that says, you're welcome to use this space as whatever. I mean, those are things that other DDAs have successfully partnered with business owners on.
We've found the village police department has been very amenable towards putting a note on people's cars when they magically appear where they don't belong for days on end. And at this time of year, it's perfectly easy to find them because they get snow covered. And so we stop by the police station and say, will you tag the car? And they tag it, and 20 minutes later, the thing gets moved because people just somehow think they can leave a car there for weeks on end.
So I think this is a good starting point. I think it needs to be looked at by a subcommittee. We need to form another subcommittee on the parking. So something for January, I think. Okay.
But shouldn't we have those updates made first? Shouldn't we request that, or to have, is it Roe?
Paul, come in.
Yeah, have Paul come in at the next meeting, and we can all take a look over this with any of our questions and have it ready, so we don't have to do that. Again, do it while it's still fresh in his
Right.
head too.
Yeah, and if those, that's a great suggestion, and getting the information that Bill has, I think, is really important. And by getting all of that corrected, I think, and that's where, if you see on my director's note, I think it's important to then, if we use this information, if we're able to grab a couple people, from the various boards to say, okay, let's think collaboratively, how can we work as a village together, and using some of the DDA resources as well to have it be known to the public there is more there are more options for parking. It's just not evident by looking at it. We were over in Howell yesterday, and I took a picture for you guys, but it looks like a Loch Ness Monster. But from the coffee shop we were in, you could see a big, public parking symbol, on the other side of the street, even though their parking actually looks worse than ours, like on the Four Corners area, but yet they have signage that helps you know where you can park. That's, I think, that's a problem.
Wayfinding.
We could fix that.
Yeah.
That could be solved within months, really. If we, again, work collaboratively. It makes no sense, in my opinion, to do something like this and not have people, a voice from the planning commission, a voice from the village council, a voice from whatever other committees are in the village.
So, to Zach's, let's get Paul here.
And our chief of
for
police.
January, and the chief.
Okay, yes.
Right,
Yeah, thank you.
absolutely. He should be involved, because, when I approached him, I said, people are requesting that we enforce it, and he said, I don't have the time, I don't have the resources, I don't have the equipment to enforce parking right now, other than overnight. That overnight's easy, right? So if you're parking out there at 3 AM when that officer goes by, you're gonna get a ticket.
And that's the reason for the two unmarked lanes at the very west side of the so-called municipal lot.
Right.
John, real quick, when you guys are closing up for the night, you go out there, are there people parked in, like, the Old Locks Cleaner lot? Are there people in the, like, at the antique store, are there people in their spaces too? Are all those spaces kind of being utilized? What time do you guys close?
Close at 9 PM.
Okay.
Most nights there are cars in the Old Locks Cleaners. There's usually one or two. And there's usually one in what was the Rustic Bluebird spot. When I leave, usually is around the 10:30 mark. That's
I'm
pretty
just
much-
wondering-
Those are the couple few that I notice.
I'm just wondering if it's more, people are afraid to park somewhere where there's just a posting. So if we had some sort of uniform signage for all the spots, and not necessarily something that says, anytime after this time, you can use this spot, like, that might complicate things. It's almost like if there's no markings, people are like, oh, it's a spot, I can park here, like with where they're pulling in at locks. They don't need a sign telling them that they can park there after hours. It might get more complicated when there's a tenant in there, but even if there's so many different signs being posted as far as, don't park here, loading zone. Everybody's got their different signage.
If you're not going to
There's-
P&C, you can't park here, right? If you don't live here, right, you can't park here, right?
Right.
There's different options.
All right,
So there are books written on municipal parking that I keep getting advertisements from in my email. I mean, that's how big of an issue this
It
is. It's definitely a topic for another.
continued,
We'll get together and talk
Yep.
about this.
okay.
Yeah, and Bill, I would encourage you, I can send you the information. I think it would be great if you talk with Paul directly, because you can answer or get that cleared up with him specifically, since you're aware of those parking spots. But yeah, we can talk about that for sure.
Okay. E, under unfinished business, master plan 2022, 2027. Elizabeth?
Yeah, so, 100 hard copies, are presently at the printers getting done by the Macomb County. But it was stopped prior to it getting printed because two of the columns shouldn't have been in there. So luckily that was stopped, before that was put out there. It wouldn't have looked real good if for 15 years people are looking at data that says, well, wait a minute, especially if someone says you can't collect money from the DIA or from the zoo. So that was corrected. I have been using the 2005 map that is upstairs, so it looks a lot different, the big laminated map. So I contacted the county printer that I'm working with and say, is there any way we can get some laminated copies? And he said, sure, I'll just do them for you at no cost. So we'll be getting that soon. I've already been using those along with Christine when we've been talking with some people who want to do some things downtown. It's really helpful. So if you ever want to take a look, you know what, I'll bring it to next month's board meeting so you can see what the new one, and that would be from page 5 from the master plan, so.
So when is the anticipated,
Delivery?
yeah,
For all of the above?
Yep.
It should be sometime early January, but it should be sometime in December, but in case it, gets delayed because of the holidays, they'll be available. My plan is to distribute those on an individual basis. Not everybody wants a hard copy, but we've already had a few potential business owners coming in, and it's like, wow, I didn't know you had this. So it's really wonderful information. Even if they don't read all of it, it's very well presented. You guys did a good job when you put that together, so.
Okay, new business. Appointment of treasurer, I think we will table this item until January. At that time, a new appointment may be made to this board, so I would like to have full board before we do appoint a new treasurer. B is the
Do you need
snowman.
a motion to table that?
No.
I have not known of that in
Okay.
the past, no.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
B is the snowman project. Elizabeth, you want to talk about that?
Sure. This was brought to my attention by President Malzahn. She has a contact in Port Huron that said, this is what we've done. It's super cute. It is something that I think it could be put together. I have a business owner who's actually willing to do all the marketing for it, for the DDA, and knowing how to pull some of that together. It came up as a byproduct of what do we do in the midst of COVID, and so this Fomal spray insulation company came up with, hey, why don't we make some foam snowmen? And so that, as you see in the article, that's what they look like, the March of the Tin Soldiers, you know, from that old movie. And then you see, of course, just a few of the pictures of them actually decorated. I have about 3 for sure business owners that have already committed to purchasing one outright themselves. A couple ideas that have been tossed out there is that those who can't afford to maybe purchase one outright, perhaps the DDA could do like a lease fee of like, I don't know, like $150, $200 a year, or a season, if you will. And what they did is it just became something that people came down. The idea, I know Claire from the Romeo District Libraries would love to put a snowman story walk up. So that would happen in collaboration with this. So it's kind of self-explanatory what you see in there. I'm not sure. I talked with Tim at DPW and said, can you store giant snowmen? He thought I meant one. But he said they could probably make room for sure for 5. I know Mary at what's the name of the real estate agent?
Raymond?
Yes, thank you. She said she had room in her basement. She's like, I'll buy one outright. I'll put it in my own basement, you know. So it's an idea. Whether it gets done or not, I will say we sort of have third person's advantage at this point. Grosse Point's the only other municipality that DDA that has looked into this, and so I think Romeo has a chance to really like step out there and go, what a cool idea. So I'd hate to see us lose that opportunity, but I mean, it could wait till next year too. But it's ice sculptures melt, foam snowmen, I don't think do.
They do not. That's what caught my eye when I saw it, that they were doing it. I was like, well, that's brilliant, because you can have a Snow Me the Love event like we used to have in February or March, where along with the chili contest or whatever you want to do in the park, and do a ton of different things with this asset.
Do Christmas in July or some random thing.
Oh,
That's what John
Yeah.
said, yeah, and have the snowmen back out in the
Right.
summertime.
I think it's so much fun. The possibilities are endless.
How sturdy are these things? Because that foam stuff seems to break apart or bullet.
That I don't know.
Yeah, so on their quote, and they haven't done a quote before for something like this, so if there's other details that if you all were to approve something and you want to have something else contingent and be included, that could happen for sure. But it says all snowmen are uniquely crafted, one-of-a-kind decorations made of 2 to 3 inch closed cell polyurethane foam insulation. The body is hollow, allowing each snowman to weigh approximately 15 to 20 pounds, easily transported yet rigid and durable. She said that if you look in the photo from the newspaper article, you'll see how they have sort of like a melted looking base.
Yeah.
And so what some people have done is they've roped that, and then they put like something weighted. I don't know if it's hollow up inside. It says that it's hollow. I don't know if it's hollow inside where you could weight it from that. And they said that they're very rigid, but if you were to, let's say, I don't know, if somebody decided to take a chunk out of the snowman, right? Or if it happened by an accident, she said you could spray it with that, that I don't know what that stuff is.
Like the popcorn ceiling stuff is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but
is
those
that-
cans, like that orange cans, the good stuff or whatever it's called, and then it's
Spray
just,
insulation.
and you
White-
can just
white
paint it and
spray
touch
paint.
it up, so they're reusable for sure.
My question would be,
Yeah.
does the DDA even have to purchase any? Are you gonna get enough buy-in from the business? Like, I know personally, I'd rather buy one outright myself as a business owner. We may be in a situation where we don't have to put any money up front. We just go around to each business and say, are you interested in it? And we get a list from that end, because, you know, we put out $6,000 when
Yeah.
the businesses might just fund it themselves.
How
You know,
many
that's a
have
great
you-
question.
How many have you already kind of gotten feelers out there? You mentioned one or two already.
I would say,
I said
I
the
mean,
cha-
even
I
even
said
the
the
church,
chamber
River
would-
of God actually already said, we'd love to do the snowman. She goes, we have the blow-up snowman, but that one looks way more real, so let's
Yeah.
do that.
Well, and then you can dress this up and change it every year, and like
Yeah.
Christine said, do different
Themes.
events and stuff like that, and do Christmas in July, like Megan said. So I mean, I don't even know if the DDA has to put out any money. We just have to facilitate it.
So here's a thought, Zach. So there's a delivery fee for 1 to 20, right?
Right.
What if the DDA paid the delivery
Well,
fee?
I wanted to ask, do we know where they're located?
Yes, they are in,
Thought you told me Clinton Township.
The.
something city, not Marines, yeah, Marine City, I believe it's
Marine
Marine City.
City. Yeah.
So the delivery fee jumped out at me. It's like, well, okay, first of all, if they're gonna sell a number of these, come on, you're gonna also now, we're gonna pay you to deliver it? I don't think so. Or we do arrange a pickup, we coordinate a way to pick up. That's a lot of money. That's a whole snowman to deliver.
Yeah. Well, I asked them to include, I asked them to have that be part of the quote, right? You don't wanna have a quote that doesn't have a delivery
So
charge.
maybe,
or
much
whatnot,
maybe there's
so.
some wiggle
Wait.
room there. Maybe they'll, if, depending on the
15
quantity.
to 20
they'll
pounds,
take-
Carol.
How much?
15 to
15.
20 pounds.
I think it's more the size. They're about 6 feet tall.
20
Yeah, they're kinda
pounds, is it?
awkward.
Yeah.
They do need to be weighted, if you read that quote, they need,
Right.
they're hollow on the inside, need to be weighted.
The other thing would be too, if they're delivering it, then we don't really have to worry about, okay, if it's
Broken
broken or damaged
Mm-hmm.
or something happens in transit, you know, once it takes delivery to the
The only
business
thing I
owner.
did say is, if any of you remember Monsters on Main, became a huge pain in the bum, storing them and getting them out there. So if each company owned their own, that would probably
That's
be
right.
the best
Well, that's
scenario.
even when we did the ice sculptures, we volunteered where the DDA paid half and the store paid half
Mhm.
because they were so expensive.
I still have my blue
But-
box in the basement.
Why don't we do the delivery fee and the,
See what owners
See
are
what
interested
I
for
think
That's a
one,
good idea. Covers
first
the
time
cost
out.
of delivery.
Give us a date of, when are we?
Yeah, so she said, please tell me you don't want these before Christmas.
Well, but I'm saying, okay, so when are we thinking? Are we thinking February, thinking March, and how soon before that would we need it in order to get it for whatever that timeframe is we want?
Yeah, so good question. So, if we, so they know that the board meeting is tonight. So if we got them numbers, they wouldn't be making these until probably the 1st of January, just because, I mean, this is not their business. Their business is, you know, foam insulation and concrete work, right? So, you know, they're also making some minions and a few other silly things, but it is, we could have it, I asked if we could have them by the 3rd week of January for delivery in case whatever event you all wanted to create or co-do with some other businesses that would have been launched, probably would make sense to have that launched the end of January, beginning of February, to bank on the snowy season still
Then you could
happening.
promote the snowman book in coordination to this.
So I'm looking for direction from the board if this is something you all are interested in me
Yeah.
pursuing with our time.
I said the
think
chamber
so.
would buy one.
Absolutely. I think you get a tally of how many businesses are interested in purchasing it outright, knowing that the DDA is going to cover the cost of delivery. And then we get ourselves into a situation where now it's up to the DDA to figure out how we want to promote it, whether it's a contest or whether it's something that's going to be an ongoing event, dress it up, vote on it, however we want to do it. But that would fall on to our shoulders, and coordinate that with the other businesses.
Yeah,
And
the base
my
more,
only point on that is I heard that you mentioned there was somebody that wanted to do the marketing for this whole program.
Who's willing to work and help promote it, yeah.
I'd prefer it to be a DDA, not one of our businesses promoting it. I'd hate for it to funnel more to single business than the whole DDA.
You're saying like a sponsored thing from a business?
Well, I guess.
No, it's not really a sponsored thing. This is a business who really wants to get into downtown when the space is
Yeah,
available
but
and
they
is just
shouldn't
willing
be
to.
marketing one of our programs. I think we need to do that ourselves, so it's kind of a thanks but no thanks as far
I
as
don't
somebody
know
else.
about that.
No,
I think we need help
not in this
promoting it
case.
as much as possible.
It's not necessarily a
Right,
situation
snowman.
where they're trying to get free advertising at all. It's like, hey, I have the ability to help with that. I'd love to help promote this. Because this is a
I mean,
great thing
you know,
for all of Romeo.
The fill the bus, for example, and, you know, they want money from the DDA, but DDA is not mentioned. I know that was an error, and that wouldn't have been done if he had realized what he did, but I wouldn't want to get into that situation.
I think she's
They're
thinking,
promoting it as a DDA event, though.
Right.
It's not that it would be
Yeah.
their own thing that they're taking ownership. It sounds like they're just helping us to.
kind of like the library did with the
Do we need a
storybook.
motion to spend the $500
We do.
to do that?
Well, the only other quick thought that I have, before you make a motion, Bill, if I could, I know we talked about everybody purchasing them individually and then storing them themselves, but there may be people who are interested in buying when they don't have storage space, right? I
Sure.
wouldn't want to exclude them for that, so if there could be some consideration, you know, hey, I'd love to participate, but, you know, can I store this at the DPW if they'll take 5?
I probably got
throw
room
that
for
out
2 or
there.
3 in the basement, so I mean, I
Well,
think.
Mary's put them in her basement, she's got room for two.
Okay.
I'm going to
I've
see
never
Mary
been in Mary's
too.
basement, so, okay, I don't know, but.
Okay,
I
how
just
funny
wanna
is
throw
this that,
out there.
that you all are talking about putting snowmen in your basement?
I know, right? Yeah.
So, the motion, did somebody make the motion?
Bill was going to, and I interrupted him,
Motion
so.
is that we spend the $500 to pay for the delivery on these snowmen, period.
Should we
If there's
not to exceed
participation.
850 just in case it
Just
goes
the
over the
delivery. We pay
21
the
mark?
delivery charges.
Do you really think we're gonna get 21?
21 business? I mean, that's not that many, is
It's
it?
really not.
Probably.
Well, it allows me to not have to come back to you guys for have a special meeting right before
Right.
Christmas.
So, Bill, amend your motion to not exceed $850 delivery in case we sell more, have more people that want to buy them.
At
The ne-
21, it goes up to 850.
Just second option right here.
We authorize the expenditure of up to $850 to facilitate the delivery of these snowmen.
Okay.
Not to complicate it anymore, but what if we only get 3, right? If we're gonna pay $500 if we only sell 3? I mean, do we wanna say that there's a minimum order of, that we get 10 or
Well,
12?
I've already done a count of 8.
Okay,
I,
So-
yeah, I think
Okay.
we'll be safe, and you know what? If they miss this go around, they got to
They're
pay
gonna
for their own
want-
delivery the next time. They don't
Okay,
wanna be
fair
involved,
enough.
So.
okay.
I will second Bill's motion.
Okay. Motion by Parker, second by Stevens. Okay?
Roll call, Elizabeth?
Okay. Greg, welcome. Tar? I'm calling your vote.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, okay. Humphreys?
Yes.
Malzahn?
Yes?
Brandt?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes?
Hayes?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes. Carol is
This is
always,
gonna be so
is always
cute.
curious where we're spending the money from. Which event will we be taking that?
It will be under the Central Business District events.
Okay, so we know it's coming out of that.
Okay.
I know where it's not coming from, Bill. Snow
Okay.
removal.
Oh, my God.
Okay,
Okay.
I love to.
C, under new business, downtown social district.
So this was brought to my attention this summer before I even took this job, when I knew I was looking into to working for you all. Lake Orion has this social district. I've talked with President Malzahn briefly about this. I'm not looking for any action on this tonight. It's more of a, is the DDA interested in trying to pursue a social district within Romeo? It is a 5-year program with the state. It will be looked at in 3.5 years. It was approved 1.5 years ago. And it is, you can see there's 2 pages. There's a list of all the different communities within the state who have them.
So explain what that is.
Oh, sure. So, in a nutshell, a social district, as you see under the introduction, under the Public Act 124, it's authorized the issuance of a social district permits for the sale of alcohol. The governing body of a local government unit may designate a social district within its jurisdiction and establish common areas. qualified licensees, those who already have licenses for liquor sales, in the common areas within a social district and that have been approved for and issued may sell alcohol liquor on their licensed premises to customers who may then consume them within the common area of the social district. So for example, if you're in Lake Orion, you could go to Bar A and Bar B or Restaurant C are all within the same district. You can walk within those same spaces and have an open container. It is from being on some forums with some other DDA directors, it has really boosted the DDA businesses in the areas. It's not just, it doesn't become a booze fest. It just, those of you who have been to Europe, it's pretty exciting to say, it's a different way of thinking about how your downtown can be after, like when other businesses are closed, and it's just basically restaurants and bars and.
It was born out of COVID, right? It was a program that was designed to assist communities with still attracting people to come to their, downtowns, but not have to be inside of a particular restaurant. So there is a benefit, and it does require, there's quite a few rules that the participants, so you can't just, sell a can of Miller Lite and people walk around with it. It has to be in a cup, has to be marked with their name, and so there are some restrictions. The village council would have to approve the district itself, but can be done.
Is there a fee to this?
There is not, I don't believe, there might be a small recording fee, but I don't believe there's a fee to have it designated. It's just a function of the governing body and then obviously enforcement. That becomes the problem.
So I would encourage, at this, I wanted to just have this be an item just for you all to kind of take a look at. Is you're out celebrating the holidays, maybe even in January, look at that list and look at a community that maybe you want to go and visit and pay attention to where their social districts are. So just as a consumer, see what it is.
Right.
And then see if when we come back to January, if this is something that you want to have us pursue and see if that's something that the village wants to do.
Because what you don't want is for people to be in our downtown and having an open container and then walking to their residence 3 blocks away. That's not the district, doesn't extend that far. We also, want to be careful that they're not accessing parking, right? We don't want them to take a container out of the district drinking and then get into their car. Maybe they leave the container behind, or maybe they just put it in their car with them because it's still half full. I don't know. What? Yeah.
Are they allowed to go in other businesses or just in that open area?
It would be within the district.
So they could go into a store shopping with their cocktail?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you had a sign that says no
Yeah, I just read about
containers
having-
allowed, right, yeah.
I just saw that part about you had to have a bucket outside for them to throw like cups away before they came in the building.
It's almost like the Art and Wine Walk. They don't pay attention.
Right.
Don't take your alcohol outside the establishment, but they walk all the way down the street. This would make it legal.
Has anybody talked to any of the bars about that?
I did. I talked to Glenn, and I didn't personally have a conversation with Nikki, but I know that Glenn did because I suggested that when, again, COVID came up, do we do part of that municipal lot or the alleyway that's behind them so that they could just extend their service area outward, that people could still gather and be 6 foot distance away. But then when they really looked at the restrictions of containers and,
And
labeling
the
them
ground,
and.
it had also had to do with the parking lot and putting tables and chairs and how things would
Yes.
fit and such.
So,
I went to a social district down in Florida. They had picnic tables, so it kind of takes care of that
right.
uneven.
We
but
talked to the
some places
Lions
have
about
picnic
that.
tables.
Like, their campus would be perfect for that if they could do their whole Lions Field as a district, drinking social district, because that way you wouldn't have to stay in the beer around the world, right? They're still fenced in, right? So they're still contained within that area.
In Florida, they essentially, we can't hear because of the way our streets are, but they shut down a street. So think of the Village Park being a social district, and we could even shut down just like we did for the Santa coming in, you could shut down those side streets or whatever, certain days, times, and you throw some lawn chairs or picnic tables into the middle of the streets or all over the park.
Mackinac City did that on
So
their.
I think Greg had a question a little bit ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering is what prohibits us, first of of all, this is not, I don't see it as a DDA issue, it's not really a building and, you know, bricks and mortar type thing. Seems like the village would just have to make a decision, you wanna, you know, and then what stops you from,
Well,
just
the-
say next week, like St. Baldwin saying, hey, you can have alcohol on Main Street there and we're not, and because of this special event, can you do that now if you want?
Liquor control has a little more control, yeah, a little
Yeah.
more say in that, right? The license holder has to apply along with the governing body
Okay.
for that. So it can be event-driven, it also can be location-driven. But no, we can't just say, hey, everybody on.
Shut the street down, we're-
Right,
okay.
everybody on Church Street can now, you know, just,
Do it on college
around.
campuses all the time, don't we?
right, exactly, yeah.
So,
But to your point, the DDA certainly would have a role in this if they wanted to organize or coordinate with, you know, with the businesses as a benefit to them, to bring the suggestion to village council to say, hey, we've done this work and we've talked to these people and they're in favor of this, and we're just, you know, wanna help promote this idea, so.
we'll get into this more probably as the next 6 months goes on, but what our mission is as far as bricks and mortar type projects, I see that more as a chamber item, like, hey, let's let the chamber, I mean, that's what they're there to do, to develop those businesses and drive that sort of thing. I'm interested in brick pavers and new trees and these types of capital types of improvements. But anyway, to move
Right.
on, thank you, it's interesting thing, but I have whatever, no more to say.
Yeah, and no, those are good questions, Greg, and I think one of the benefits from being part of the Michigan Downtown Association is that the other directors who have had this be very successful in their communities in working with their villages, their cities, whichever it is. One of them is Farmington Hills. She's an incredible director down there, and they've done tours for DDA boards and other directors. Say, if you want to come down, we'll plan a tour so you can get to see what this is. We probably could do it. I believe it's Mindy over at Lake Orion, and say, hey, could you walk us through this? That might be a fun field trip, right? So just can't do board action if there's a quorum. So information, if anybody wants more information on it, I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. So.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Next up, Romeo DDA financials and the hiring of an accountant. You want to go through this, Elizabeth? Or do you want me to?
I'll let you take the lead on this.
Okay. Well, with the resignation of Carol, we have to look at.
Leaves me with 3 people.
Pardon me? We have to look at hiring somebody to take over our accounting for this organization. And I don't know if you guys were able to read through this hiring of an accountant, but there are specific state-driven things that we really have to get our stuff in order. And so hiring an accountant to get this rolling in the right direction, I believe is the right way to go. There is a job description in here. And then there are 2 people that have thrown their hat in. Timothy Sadowski currently is the Village of Romeo's accountant. And bottom line, if you go to the very last sentence in his cover page, setting us up and getting us, with the QuickBooks and all that would be $6,000 to set it up, and then he's looking at $300 weekly to do any of the accounting work. The other person, her name is Carla Heck. She is currently the Romeo District Library accountant, has some background in governmental processing for accounting, and she's laid out the number of hours that she believes would take to get us set up with the QuickBooks and the numbers and the budgetary. And her total proposal for the front page came to $2,400. Then she's got some numbers down here, consultation with the Village of Romeo accountant for 4 hours. She's got that at $600. Monthly fee for QuickBooks Online and payroll would be $130 per month. if it is currently being paid by the financial person presently processing, I don't know what that means.
If we already had it,
If
we
we
already had it.
wouldn't
Okay.
have to get it again, but we don't.
Okay.
Do you want me to go over a little bit of the background that we've talked about?
Yeah.
Okay, so, part of the reason some of this came about is some of my, experience already working, you know, on a board of a taxing authority. And so some of the processes that I've been used to seeing in place, I was looking around, okay, where is this? Where is this? Where is this? And I kept coming up with nothing. And then when I discovered that you all don't have director and officer's insurance, I started the process of trying to get quotes, which is not something I expected to do, especially this early in the game of doing this job. And it has been quite an arduous task to do many of these things in light of everything else that we're trying to get done, you know, 60 days in. And in filling out those applications, there's a section under there that talks about theft and fraud. And so there's all of these practices, these controls and balances, and making sure that one person doesn't have control of funds. There's all types of things. And even to qualify for insurance, you have to make sure some of these things are in line. So that just revealed just some other areas that have not been followed that really, I mean, I talked to you all last month about really fixing the foundation and figuring out what to use in the cracks of that foundation. Well, you all have a big gapping hole in the middle of your roof. And I can't even work on the kitchen because the roof has to be fixed first. This is part of it. I worked with Kelly, Zach and I talked a bit. I've contacted over 10 accounting firms, and almost none of them are interested in doing governmental accounting. It's very specialized. I understand you haven't had to pay for this in the past, but there are certain things that have to be followed at the state level that if they're not done, it will jeopardize funding. And it's really important to get these things adjusted. And Carla is someone that I have, she has worked at the library. She works as a part-time basis. And she does an incredible job with the budget every year. She's corrected things that were not straight before. So,
Are we required to handle this as a job posting?
That's what I was asking.
I don't know if we do, but
I would think we have to. We have to post it, and even if we have to do it in a special meeting to hire somebody, but.
I think it's urgent, needs to be addressed right now, but I need to make sure we're proceeding
Well, we go back to
accordingly.
we go back to the purchasing policy, right? Anything over X amount of dollars has to go out for bid. And I think that was, what, 3,000?
Definitely over.
We can't just go hire somebody would be I can't see how we can do that without posting the job, period. The village has gone through the village itself has gone through this. You gotta post it and give people a chance to say, I'm interested. Even if we just do it for 10 days, we still have to post it.
Well, we can certainly do that. Most of the work that is outlined in these two proposals, is the word I'm looking for, is really just to bring things in line. While there is an ongoing portion of it, it's to go back several years and port everything over from the QuickBooks that Carol's been operating under into this QuickBooks Online, to bring everything under the new chart of accounts that was instituted by the state of Michigan last year. You know, it's part of their mandate that all municipalities follow the same chart of accounts so that there's just consistency. There's a lot of other reporting documents. So it's like the forensic work that we had to do when I assumed office. There was a lot of forensic work that had to be done because we didn't meet the audit requirements.
I understand that.
Right,
I'm just saying.
and so, right.
Do we know if either?
And so we did that just as a contracted service. So while certainly I think if you were hiring somebody on a,
which we will need to
right,
do.
a contract basis.
Within 4 to 6 months, we will
Right.
need to do that. But you
Yes.
have forensic work that is desperately needing to be
Yes.
Do
done.
we know if either of these two people are willing to do what we're calling proposal, even without the guarantee that they will be hired on as the controller or accountant?
Yeah, so if you look at Carla's proposal at the end, she talks, I think it was in there, maybe it was on the first page. This is not, yeah, she would, within 6 months, she's saying that this is something that can be turned over to a bookkeeper in another
So really
account.
two different things, the way I guess I wanna look at this is, let's put out the fire right now and do this initial work, which needs to be done tomorrow.
Mhm.
In the meantime, follow procedures to make sure we find somebody that we can hire for, as a regular account.
But
We have
isn't-
the time to do that.
Isn't any of the stuff that we do basically a contract? The watering is a contract. It's not like it's ongoing. It's not like we're hiring somebody.
Can't we just post it for 10 days and then have a special, even if it's a Zoom meeting, to make a decision?
I think the lady from the library has all the expertise to get this ship righted. We have to get this ship righted, and then we come back to hire somebody.
So
So,
can we spend $2,400 without sending it out to bid for this
Yeah,
work?
you can. It's underneath the threshold.
mhm. Yeah, your
Do we
purchase
deem it-
policy is.
Do we deem it an emergency? Would you say this would be an emergency?
You have one person on government-funded bank accounts with over $400,000 in your accounts. So yes, this is an emergency.
It's an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to hire Carla Heck to take, as she's laid out in her proposal, steps 1 through 8,
9.
1 through 9, in the amount of,
2,400.
yeah, is that an estimate, is that an actual? or $50
Billing
per
would
hour?
only be for accrual cost if less than the estimate. If a situation arises that would require additional hours, no additional work would be done without the approval of additional
so
In
proposal.
the amount of $2,400.
Not to exceed, you want to put in there not to exceed $2,400.
Not to exceed $2,400, so that we can begin immediately to fulfill our obligations
Can I ask a question
financially.
real quick though? If we have to buy that QuickBooks, that's $1,500.
Yeah, that's not included.
That's
Does she
not
need that
included in that.
QuickBooks in order to
We
do
can make a
this stuff?
separate motion. on
Yeah, so that would not be, so there, you have a motion, but I'm really unclear on what that whole motion was. So
He's-
maybe we can reword it, but maybe would you mind, can we just talk about a couple things first on that? Would that be okay?
His motion was to accept her proposal for
Okay.
the 9 steps that would cost
Okay.
not to exceed $2,400. But we also need to purchase the QuickBooks Online version.
Which isn't done through her, right? It's-
Right.
It's a separate purchase and a
That she's
separate license,
using.
so
Mhm.
it wouldn't
Right.
necessarily need to be included in John's motion.
No,
It would be
it's two
subsequent.
different.
Yes.
Okay, so that's John's motion. Is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Second for Bill? Okay.
Do we have a amount of time she's doing this? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
She's got it laid out.
The 48 hours is is that what you mean?
When-
The duration.
Did she not get this done
This is a
already?
48-hour project then?
Right. It's going to be at the top of her priority list, from my understanding, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
she
Greg's,
would be-
to
Yes.
Greg's question, I think 48 hours, but over
Of
what period
billable
of
time,
time?
right.
In the next 30 days it'll be complete, in the next 15 days it'll be complete, that is a good question.
Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, would you entertain me finding this email real quick? Would that be okay? If I can look that up, okay. I know, let's see, with where we're at, she would be starting on it before Christmas for sure, and starting to work with Carol. And she's already had, as you can see in there, she's already reviewed 2 months of financial statements and looked at some other information and looked at it and talked about how that could be worked on. I believe
Can we ask if it can be done by the end of the year,
the end of this calendar year,
the end of this calendar year?
that would be impossible for
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah, so, but February 1st, she's got a contract for 48 hours. Just moving on then.
But what about the day-to-day stuff? That
Well,
they might
Carol's,
have to do that?
Carol said she's staying till the 31st to make the
For sure,
transition.
And then 125, I mean, you might end up paying Carol for a month, right? To continue doing payroll type stuff,
Right.
doing the other bills and whatnot, as that transition flows through. The other part that is,
Well, you're gonna have to purchase QuickBooks payroll, online, QuickBooks Online with payroll subscription. And if I remember a lot right, the QuickBooks Online is like $200, and the payroll subscription is like $150.
I think it's more than that.
Last time I looked.
Right.
Right.
It's
$1,560 for both of those.
Anybody do online? I don't.
She's got the
Yeah, she's got the
estimate in here
estimate.
for $1,560 for
So we
the,
got a motion in
Yeah.
support.
Right. My only other discussion, John, and I know your motion was for $2,400, but I do believe that there will need to be some time with the village accountant to bring the two processes together, as well as the treasurer right now. So there may be some of that $600 that's in the second chart of possible. So if you would consider just a not to exceed of the $3,000, which I think is your threshold, that would allow Elizabeth the latitude if that conversation needed to happen.
I'm
That
fine
would just
with
that
as
make
far-
my request,
I'm fine
so.
with that. I thought we would then do a second motion regarding for the QuickBooks and the consultation with the village.
Well,
But-
that would allow you, I think, to go beyond, if you have one motion that is for the 2,400, and then if you did another one for the other possible not to exceeds, then you have two separate motions for two separate amounts that don't
Exceed your
exceed
threshold.
the threshold of your purchase policy. So then that doesn't require a special meeting to say, oh, no, now we have another bill that we need to do, so.
So we've got the motion.
we've got the motion on the floor. Elizabeth,
Okay, you wanna
take
do-
the roll call, please.
Okay, sure.
And just to clarify, the motion was for the $2,400,
Mm-hmm.
just in the top box, correct? You're sticking with that
For this motion,
for this
correct?
motion? I just wanted to clarify.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And that was a motion by John. Who seconded that?
I did.
Bill.
Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we ready? Okay, Tar. Humphreys,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski. Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then the second part to
We
that?
need second part
John,
to,
we're gonna make a motion for $1,560 to buy the QuickBooks.
plus the 600.
I'm making this one too.
Yes.
Well, may I suggest that you all read the second portion just a little bit, because if you, or can I go over that?
Sure.
Kelly, would that be okay?
Yes.
Okay, so the consulting with the Village of Romeo accountant, his rate, that's his rate, period. There's nothing we can do about that. Per the village ordinance, the village treasurer also is part of these accounts. So there's, that has to be taken into account, how that's going to be handled, which means the banks may change. There are things that have to be done with that. Signature cards, which he's got in the second, new checks if the banks change. You have to do the signature cards, you have to do stamps depending on who's signing, who the new treasurer is, how you all do that compared to your bylaws. I don't know those inside out yet. The QuickBooks that's on there, there's other expenses that could come into play. So if you take one section and you just pick it apart piece by piece, you're gonna end up with 5 motions here in a second. So I would suggest other fees not to exceed an amount. This is a suggestion.
So box 2 is $2,460. Why don't we make a motion for $2,400, and then if there's a supplemental to it down the road, we can do that, I would think.
If I'm making the motion, I'd want to make the motion not to exceed $2,900.
But then aren't we getting into the purchase?
No, because our purchase threshold is 3,000.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Because we'll have to include
Right.
village,
Right.
there's other expenses not really listed here, if I'm reading all
So
this
it's not to
correctly.
exceed $2,900.
Not to exceed $2,900 to cover consultation of Village of Romeo accountant, QuickBooks purchase fees, office expenses, as well as, who was the other village?
The treasurer.
Treasurer that would need to be consulted.
And that's not to exceed $2,900,
Not to exceed $2,900.
and I'd second that.
Okay. You guys made it easy for me. It's the same, you know how easy it's gonna be to do my minutes? Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion on that?
Roll call.
Okay. Tar?
Yes.
Humphreys?
Carol?
Yes.
Malzahn?
Yes.
Brandt?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. She will also be available if you would want her to assist with the budget process, and she is absolutely brilliant with that stuff. That will really help in the budget phase.
Okay,
Can
guys,
I-
we-
sorry.
Software, I've got a line item for software, which we haven't done yet.
What's that?
We have to figure out where we're taking the money from. We always
Well,
have-
Carol will figure that out for us.
Well, based on a lot of, some of the other expenses that are happening, you're gonna need to do another budget amendment. It's not recommended that municipalities do more than 2 budget amendments per fiscal year, so when all of this
We
gets
got
transferred over.
$1,500 for accounting fees right there,
Okay.
so that's part of it.
Need to begin the hiring process.
You could take some out of here. Let's say we'll only do one dumpster,
Well, we'll figure it out.
yeah, you can move it around.
Can I,
You got to
um,
June.
Unless
Okay,
you want me to.
you know what?
Unless you want
We'll
me
take
to.
care of that
Later.
Yes.
later, yes.
Can
Go
can I put a motion on the table to make a job posting based on the job description that you've provided in the packet too, so that we can get that posted as quickly as possible to start getting some applications in, because I'm sure that
So
process.
is the hiring committee going to look
Will
at
take a
these
while.
postings again? Jack,
Um,
John, Christine?
yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so is the motion to post the job description?
correct.
Yeah, post that as an opening, post the job opening per the job description that you've included for us.
Did you say?
Okay,
Are you making that
I
motion?
made
I'll
the
second that,
motion,
yeah.
yep, mhm.
okay.
It's gonna be
Give me one
referred to
second.
the hiring committee.
Hiring committee, yeah.
Okay, that was second by Stevens, yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Tar,
Yes.
Humphreys,
What is this one for?
Hiring
job.
somebody,
Yes.
Malzahn,
yes.
Brandt is, okay, not here. Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Take, see what,
Stevens,
Yes,
Parker.
how much?
Yes.
Thank you.
Uh,
Okay.
This isn't, the posting isn't gonna cost anything. If it is, it'll be pennies.
Would you like to
24
vote
bucks or
yes
something.
for the motion to hire to post the job description for bookkeeper?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
okay.
all right, thank you. Thank you for understanding the urgency of this.
No, you gotta purchase QuickBooks Online and payroll for 500, I would. make it-
It's $1,560.
She had it in the quote
Yep.
for the year.
$1,560.
Yep.
Oh,
It could be different for governments.
Yeah, mm-hmm,
I would
Okay.
recommend that.
Did we already
not-
do a resolution for that?
Yes.
yes.
I would recommend that none of the data be transferred onto any drives, anything like that, until Carla is communicating with Carol and getting all of that set up. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
So, okay.
Insurance policies.
Well, this was fun.
Said no one ever except for insurance salesmen.
Yes, no kidding.
Now, I do actually way back when, I actually worked in insurance, but not in governmental insurance. So your policy for director and officer insurance expired in 2017. I was told by numerous people you don't need workers' comp, except that's not accurate. By state law, you have to have workers' comp insurance. So those two things right there, you need them. The third thing, you have liability and property coverage currently with Farm Bureau. You only have $10,000 for property coverage. And then, in discussing, and I talked with Carol some, trying to figure out what do we have in assets that's out at DPW. It is not covered by the village if something were to happen to that building because it's DDA property. So that's where that inventory is gonna come in handy, not just from receipts from what you guys have had in the past, but what's actually still there working. So that $10,000 amount is probably a pretty far off, just from looking at the invoice from your Bose from last year alone. I mean, I would imagine you have upwards of probably $100,000 in equipment.
I
That's
gave
just
you a
my guess.
printout of what we have, and it was like $50,000.
Right, and that's just from some of the receipts that Carol looked at. So that
So you
amount should
print
be
it out, you don't
considered.
have no idea how much it is.
In talking to our, how many of you are familiar with the Michigan Municipal League? Okay, you all are from the village perspective, I suppose. So, in talking with their agent and going, I spent about an hour and a half on the phone with him on Friday, just like, walk me through this, help me understand this policy. I was shocked to find that the price difference was huge between the MML for all of the services needed and Farm Bureau. However, they have separate coverages, other additional coverages that come with it that that the other company doesn't provide. Do you need those? I don't know. I will tell you, I've probably spent about 25 to 30 hours on this in the last month because the application process is arduous for both of them. And there are several insurance agencies that I contacted that don't even do government insurance. So process of elimination, you know, speaking with Kelly, say, hey, what about these people? What about these people? So contacting them, nope, we don't do that, and so forth. So Megan and others of you who have been on other boards, I guess I'm looking for some direction. How do you want to handle this? How do you see the urgency of this? How should you proceed? This fell in my lap, so here it is.
So, Farm Bureau for the workman's comp is $233, correct? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yes. Yes. Now, what would change with that, because Carla would be a 1099, she would need to be included on this too. But it wouldn't, it's not gonna change the rate by much. I believe when I asked if someone else were on here, what would that do to the rate? It's not gonna bring it up much more.
MML's portion for work comp was $299.
$299? Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
Now, I have a question. What about the people that you're going to be hiring? The CPA that's going to work on it? Now, if they don't have workman's comp insurance, we've got to pay for it.
That's correct.
So do they have workman's comp insurance?
No, she would not have her own workers' comp insurance.
So
right?
then
it would need
this
to
may
under
be
here.
higher.
It's not gonna be much. I have workman's comp for myself and Debbie, and I think we're at $240.
Yeah, I wanna say they said it'd add like $20 or $30 onto it.
Right, so you can do it a couple different ways. I believe Janine Saputo, who was a 1099 employee, had her own. She had to bring her own policy with her. And then when that changed and we went, I think it changed with Judy, it could have changed with Kim Hale, I can't quite remember. Yes, because we had Maris for a while, which I think is where the Farm Bureau insurance policy came from. Why it got canceled, I don't know.
It was non-payment.
2017, I don't.
That's what I was
non-payment.
told. They researched that and they said it was due to non-payment.
Okay. I don't know.
So we've got
So the contract employees could then be required to provide their own, if you were gonna put that in the job posting, I suppose. But for the few dollars, it's probably better that we just handle it ourselves and make sure that all the Ts are crossed and that the policy is covered.
You hired an accountant bookkeeper who's not looking to do this long-term. So
Correct.
to say, hey, now you gotta provide your own policy is.
Exactly.
Wouldn't be really wise. So I don't, you know, as far as, so workers' comp's that's a pretty simple no-brainer thing, right? You have to have insurance.
Right.
Now, as far as the other one, if you go to, under the first section, I tried to staple it all together for you guys, so it's a little bit easier. If you go to the third page, so after you go to see the workers' comp, then you see.
Are you in the
it's
Farm Bureau?
It's the McGowan Donnelly, but that's who they.
Yep. Right.
So if you look under where it says section 1 on page 1 of 2, there's part A coverage, so it shows 500,000, and then it shows $1 million. So that's part A, that's your public officer's liability insurance, right? That's for you guys. So if something happens in this meeting, someone comes and talks to you, they don't like what you say, they decide to sue you, that's what this insurance is for. Right now, you have none.
And typically, it's $1 million coverage.
And then the part B is the employment practices liability limit options. I am not gonna begin to pretend that I understand all of these different terms. So if I'm doing the apples to apples comparison with the MML, which I'm not sure at this point that it matters because the price is such a huge difference. But if you did do the apples to apples, their 2 million is 675 as opposed to, you know, you did, Kelly, you and I did the math on this
Well,
earlier.
okay, MML with everything, we came up with, was it $3,900?
But that didn't include the separate liability, which is for being in the building at the village hall, right? So having an office space plus personal property, like office property, that didn't include that.
For MML.
No, yes, it did, sorry. Oh, because they have a membership fee. MML has a $200 membership fee, the workers' comp would be $299, everything else was $39.13, so their total would be $44.12, whereas opposed to Farm Bureau,
We came up with $22.75.
it was $23.75 plus
with
the
the other
workers'
100.
comp was $233, which would be
Right.
$26.08 as opposed to $44.12. However, two other things that I became aware of when reading the ordinance for the DDA. There has to be a bond on the director and there's a bond on the treasurer. If that's included in this, I don't know, but if you look at the following page, yes, that's correct, Megan. If you look at the following page, it shows on item 3, offer of optional coverage, it said fiduciary coverage. I'm assuming that's crime coverage, so that's probably the bond on the director, but I don't know that. I have not gotten an answer on that yet.
Okay.
And do they require background checks on each member? Because that was a point of contention, I remember, when Mike was elected, in that we each had to, when I joined the board, had to fill out, authorization for a background check. They just made sure that everything was good to go, part of our policy, and then I was covered, right? And then there was a switch over, or they would have to write an exclusion. If they found a reason why they wouldn't accept that person, they would write an exclusion to the policy.
That's a great question. Have no idea.
MML, I believe it's umbrella coverage. Therefore, each individual person, even though they're sworn an oath of office, doesn't have to fill out that background information. So
I know that this work is nowhere in the scope of work that you guys hired me to do.
Right,
So
it's
I'm not
ridiculous,
sure
yeah.
where to go with this. Those are great questions that need to be answered. I'm not sure how you.
I just purchased D&O for my foundation board member and did not have to do that. So I don't know if that's a governmental thing or,
I don't know if I don't know either, if it's a company versus company.
Right.
Who did you purchase?
mine
it
came
through?
through Action.
Okay.
And it was for $1,743,000.
Does Action do
They didn't-
municipalities?
She
was
didn't get
trying,
back
she
to
was
it.
trying to get it to me,
Before
Pat was trying to
tonight.
get it to me by the
Yeah.
end of the day on Friday and wasn't able to, and then was hoping it would come through today, and it didn't come through today either. Because these agencies, they go to an outside agency to,
Right.
that do this specific, as
Yeah,
you
they're
know.
shopping it to
Yeah.
lot.
So,
Well, we need to have insurance, guys, so we need to make it, I guess
I mean,
tomorrow
obviously,
you,
my comfort level is with MML, because that's where the villages, all of our insurances are through, but I realize that's a lot more money.
he was
So-
even shocked when Brian
Yeah,
Steckroth
it
is the agent with MML.
Although I did not
He was
compare,
like, wow,
right?
that's a big cost difference. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Well, that's why most people go with MML municipalities, because it's usually the better deal.
but this time it wasn't.
But we don't know, I mean, I did not take time to read each one, or if there's other coverages, like,
There's a ton of other coverages, but I don't know
Right.
that you need.
we
so if
had
you
our
look at page
cybersecurity,
5,
right, issue, and that it was covered under
Yeah.
our policy, so I'm assuming there's cybersecurity coverage. I don't know if Farm
There is.
Bureau has it or not.
If you look on page 5 from the MML, specifically under, it's the one that has, it's the front one. So it's the one that has, it's blue, it says liability and property pool, so not the workers' comp one. So this includes the liability for the building and all of the property that's at the DDA office. It also it would include property, off-site as well. But if you look at that at the top, these are things he walked through with me on. So the municipal general liability, that's on page 11. Obviously, there's no sewer backup. The personal injury liability, the medical payments, coverage C, this is where it's important maybe to think about this. So coverage C is, the way he explained it is, we do an event downtown. We have 50 volunteers show up, and they're just happening, and they're helping and whatnot, and somebody falls and breaks their leg. Their insurance goes first, but they could come after the DDA because they volunteered to help and they got injured while they were volunteering. So that medical expense happens underneath there. The public official liability coverage D, that is the employment practices claim there. There's the cyber liability, the data breach, that's on page 13. That would be if something happened to our computer files, to where there's also coverage for if
Which shouldn't happen because we now have the same software protections, SYO. If once Elizabeth wanted to hook into our other networking and the printers, we made sure that she had the same protections put in her devices.
the auto liability coverage part, A and B, that covers if one of you are on the road going to a training session. If you're on the road coming here on DDA business, that's where that covers the board and the staff is covered
So,
under the auto liability.
I guess we've never had this coverage before for the DDA?
You have not had it since 2017.
The officers and directors lapsed in 2017, but this liability and that?
That would not be covered under a D&O policy.
No, what I'm
Oh.
asking is, have we had it?
No.
Ever.
Don't know.
Ever?
Don't know.
We've never had insurance?
What, we've had insurance.
You had
we
liability
three
insurance.
policies before.
But they just lapsed, we've not paid them. Okay.
No, because they just didn't renew them.
Well, I think it's kind of dire that we get something in place here, so Elizabeth, are you going to ask some more questions of?
How much time would you like me to spend on this?
Can we just put into place the officer's insurance and the liability insurance? And then what was the other, the DNO?
Workman's comp, right.
Well, we
That
gotta
D&O
get-
Workman's
is
comp is-
officer's insurance. So director and
Oh.
officer's
So it's
insurance,
all-
it's just abbreviated
it's all-
D&O.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Where is it coming from the budget?
Right?
Well, didn't we
This is
have,
where you're gonna
gotta
be really
have-
happy
you
you
gotta-
hired Carl.
You gotta have
I
it.
have it,
Yeah.
so,
so Carol, we had insurance money budgeted, correct?
Yes, we did.
We just were not paying the policies?
They were never renewed.
but if it was budgeted every year,
Should have been
It
paid.
it
just
was-
got overlooked, the bills didn't get paid, and they lapsed. Okay, that's what happened.
Okay, well, now we gotta put something in place.
Right.
Christine, would you recommend going with the MML?
Well, only because that's, who the villages uses, but we have a much bigger, area that
Area
we're
to cover,
covering than
yeah.
just the central business district. So it may be a little more than what you need. And so my recommendation is, if everybody's concerned about costs, and we should be, that at least you get the.
Get something in
work-
place.
The work comp
Yeah.
through Farm Bureau. I mean, that's $233. They can put that in place as its own policy
Right.
to make sure that you're covered there. Unless Pat Bruin, right, comes back with a different, that's a tough call. If we still have some quotes out there, do we just do a not to exceed amount to get the minimum coverages in
Right.
place?
Yeah.
Do we tell Elizabeth to go with the cheapest, the cheapest price at this point, or do we just pick one?
I'm gonna say, make a motion that we go with the Farm Bureau Workman's Comp and D&O policy at this point, just to get something in place. Down the road, if we need to research
Then
this,
we'll look at general liability and later, is that what we're looking at?
well, don't we need,
Right,
isn't,
because it's the three pieces.
well, general, it's in here too, the general liability.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's
So the
not?
general liability and property coverage I received the renewal notice, but the bill has not come yet.
Oh.
But that's where the $500 You don't see that, that's in my chicken scratch on my own notes. So the minimum policy that we currently have for liability and property coverage is $500. The minimum policy is $500.
For the $10,000, and we know that's not.
And that's
correct.
not adding, right, exactly. So that amount needs to be increased, so I don't know what that premium is,
Okay.
by increasing that amount, so.
Let's get the two in place. And
Let's, the Farm Bureau quote with the workman's comp and the director and officers quote from Farm Bureau, let's, I make a motion that we accept these two policies,
Do you have an amount?
not to exceed $2,500.
Okay.
For both of them?
Mhm.
What about the bond?
That was $100. That was the question you're asking, if that
The treasurer
fiduciary.
needs a bond, the director needs a bond.
Currently, we're sitting at $2,275. I said not to exceed $2,500. So you're going to call Farm Bureau and ask them if that $100, the fiduciary
that.
coverage is the bond, okay?
I can do that.
Okay.
That covers the year?
Yes, that's a one-year premium. So that's the motion. Is there a second? Okay. Okay, point of clarity, if you look at page 1, under there's the policy limits. So what policy limits are you asking me, telling me to secure?
I said the million.
Million? Okay. So that extra money actually, so
Was
since that's.
including that.
So that, right, so
Yeah.
that's significantly less than the 2 million, so that cost difference will make up for if there's an additional $100, and that would
Right.
actually cover, well, how do you want to do the renewal for the other policy then? Do you want to include
Pay
that
it.
in there?
Pay it when
Okay.
you get the bill.
And increase the property limit?
Yes,
Okay. And then doing the limit on Part A, doing the million on that, correct?
correct.
Okay. Okay.
And then next year, when it renews, then you can sit down with your insurance rep and go, well, this is what we have. Does this policy cover all of this?
Yeah, because right now, we can't do that.
Right, we don't know.
We don't
Right,
know.
we don't know.
So we have a motion and a second
Yes,
to spend up to 2,500.
correct. Plus, she gets to pay the other liability.
That'll show up in
But
next year.
that's a normal
next month's
bill.
bills.
Yes,
Okay, so that's not included in that, correct?
correct.
Okay.
That's
perfect.
separate, yes.
Okay, are you ready for a roll call?
Just to
Yeah.
lighten the
The mood?
mood real quick, 'cause it's been long and everyone's
Yes.
working really hard, but on page 8 of MML, I must commend the company for hiring a gentleman, customer service rep, and his name is Loss Control. So before we renew, we may want to talk to Loss, because he might be
In control?
in control.
I think that's his job description.
I know, but
His name
it
is Tracy.
just, it got moved over.
But he
yeah.
looks like a Loss. doesn't he?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Okay.
funny.
Is it really 9:30?
It is.
Okay. All right, Tar,
Yes.
Humphreys,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski, Brandt,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yeah.
Okay. Board member comments?
Yeah, real quick. Elizabeth, thanks for all the hard work. I'm here a little late tonight. I apologize. I know you're working hard. You interviewed me, we talked. I'm gonna, I guess, lay something out there to maybe be talked about next time, and depending on Elizabeth comes back with some stuff. We may need to ask her if she's available for additional hours this next 2 months or the first quarter of next year to accomplish some of these things. And I'd like to see us authorize an additional, 50 hours of pay over the first quarter or something like that to push through some of this stuff, because these are not things we hired her to do. They're very important. They're urgent, but it's slowing us getting to some of the other things. And I just want to float that out there and let us think about it. I don't want you to be shy about coming to us and telling us that, you're working a lot of extra stuff and that some extra hours and time is needed to do it well. And I hope that we, as a board, would be willing to, obviously compensate you for your time to get this done properly and get speedy. But thank you.
I haven't been shy with my opinions yet, and I don't suspect that will change, so. Thank you. It is, you know, I'd much rather just be talking about snowmen and figuring out the social district and other things, you know, it's some exciting stuff, but this,
But once we get this done, it will
Yeah.
be in place, and I think
Yeah.
then we can turn our focus to moving the DDA to what we really envision it to be.
thank you.
Carol?
Nothing.
Nothing? Bill?
The Southwest dumpster corral is totally out of control. It's not something the DDA can do anything about, but
It's unbelievable.
What
Where is this?
what is it?
the Southwest dumpster corral, which we spent so much money on and we're so proud of that we did something about, is totally out of control.
As in-
I don't quite know what we do about it, but it's just a mess back there. Maybe we can somehow, I don't even know how who is entitled to go dump their garbage there.
We talking about the one by Office Pub and that?
Right.
It's
It's the
literally
three
out of-
businesses, it's the three businesses that are entitled to dump their stuff there because they pay for the dumpster that's contained inside, but everybody illegally dumps there,
It
is what your point is,
That's the
yes.
reason they can't close it anymore.
Yes.
The dumpsters are actually moving further and further out of the corral. How we do something about this, I don't know, but let's do something about it. End of comment. Because the crap is blowing all over.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Is that a law enforcement issue?
I just want to say thank you to Carol for her time on the board.
Yeah.
15 years is a very long time in a volunteer position, and it's been great working with you. So we appreciate your time here on the board.
Thank you.
She's certainly donated more, she's certainly donated more money than anybody can ever dream of.
My only comment is, just shout out to Parks and Rec. You know, I don't know if anybody attended the village tree lighting in Santa Parade. It was a spectacular event, right? The park was absolutely packed. They do such a great service to this community. And there is a very important meeting, Wednesday night at 5:30 at the Washington Township Hall. And honestly, the fate of our Parks and Rec lies in the hands at that meeting and discussion. So I'm urging everybody to come, or at least, you know, offer some comments. I'll take your messages down there if I need to, if you have an ability to draft something. I would hate to see a split in that organization, so that there is not the cost share and collaborative efforts amongst the tri-community, so.
Is there something that gives context this a little bit more for us that may not be so familiar with and I know there's a lot going on with it, something you could send out to us, give us some ideas and what's.
I'll forward to you, Clara Russell sent an email, and there's some links in that email to a bullet point
Okay.
a list of some of the facts.
Because I think Curly, I think you do a fantastic job and.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah, so it was spectacular. I hope everybody got a chance to come out. It was so crowded, I don't even know that we would have seen each other, right, unless we bumped into them. And of course, the Lions participated with the chestnuts, so it was great. There was cookies, they had a bunch. And our Santa mailbox is out on the quadrant there, on the corner of P and C. So if anybody else that needs to drop off a letter, there's a week or two left. Put them in there. The Santa's little elves are busy gathering all those letters and writing responses. So take advantage of that in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
And
That's it.
the bulldog was in the park.
I walked back there and I went, when did that come there? Because it wasn't there when I left, like 20 minutes prior. So, right. It just showed up.
And he was in the parade with me, too.
Yeah. It was
And
brilliant.
Santa looked like he came right out of the
Yeah.
Polar Express book, like.
Very
he is
The
nostalgic.
best looking
Claus.
Santa.
Oh my gosh,
Last year, yeah, and
Mhm.
it comes, and he comes with a
Yes.
so cool.
Go.
I just want to thank the volunteer crew that helps me put up the lights every year. It's the same guys, Frank and Andrew and.
Oh, and they look
Ryan.
great, yeah.
Thanks.
Amazing.
So,
Nice work, Carl.
that was it.
Nope, just thank you to Carol, same as everyone, and for all the time that you spent on everything. I know just doing the couple of events that I've done, it's insane, and you were always a large help, and you know everybody and had all the contacts information. That will be very much missed.
Thank you.
Are we
Okay.
going closed
Yep.
session?
Yep.
Going into closed session.
We're going into closed session, so,
So I can make a motion to adjourn, regular session.
mhm.
We have to do that first.
Now second.
So then say call, all in favor.
All in
No, that-
favor?
Actually, that has to be a roll call.
Does
To
it?
end the regular meeting? Okay, go ahead.
To go into closed session, yes.
I'm gonna make a motion to go into closed session after we end
Oh,
regular
okay,
session,
all right.
yep.
Okay, are you doing all in favor, or you do, oh,
All in
you guys
favor.
do roll, okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna make a motion to go into executive session
Did you guys say yes to that?
for,
I didn't
for,
hear it.
yes, for
Yeah.
the purposes of land acquisition. That would be a roll call.
Oh, she needs a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Or, yeah, who seconded it?
I'll
Anybody
second,
second
yeah.
it?
Okay, so same as the last time, right?
Yep.
Okay, all right, Tar,
Yes.
Humphreys,
Yes.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes?
Hayes,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay, who made that motion? Or you're waiting till?
Bill did.
I did.
That was to exit closed, I thought.
No.
No, that was, I did that one, and
Oh,
then
you're
Greg,
doing this again? Okay,
and then
gotcha.
Greg,
Okay, and who's seconding that one?
Greg.
did.
Perfect, that's making it much easier for my typing, thank you. All right,
And we're all in favor.
okay, perfect.
Now I need to make a motion to close the meeting of the Downtown Development
To
Authority.
adjourn for this evening. I'll make that
Adjourn.
motion.
10:06.
Greg, are you gonna second that?
I'll second that, yes, sir.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yours, sorry.